This special board meeting will now come to order. Ms. Moore will lead us in invocation and pledge. Oh, first we'll call the roll.
Mr. Breaux,
Here.
Mr. Green, Mrs. Hanson, Mrs. Rutherford, Mrs. Fauntleroy, Mr. Harrell, Mrs. Martin, Mrs. Moore, Dr. Peterson, Mrs. Baker, Mrs. McCullum, Mrs. Lamy, Ms. Hurstis, Mr. Kuzan, Ms. Rufino Gallagher.
Ms. Moore?
I'll use the microphone. If so inclined, bow your head. Dear Lord, be with us today. Please attend this meeting. Allow the board members to make informed decisions. Give us wisdom and guidance. Keep a watchful eye on all of our students, employees, as they enjoy their summer break, and allow us the patience and wisdom to have a successful meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, we'll move directly into business. First item on the agenda is consideration and acceptance of salary schedules for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Do I have a motion? Mr. Green, do I have a second? Ms. Baker? Okay, do we have, Ms. Prevost, would you address this?
Sure, yes, sir. Good afternoon, Superintendent, Jabby, and board members. You were provided with the proposed salary schedule for fiscal 23-24. The salary schedule tables have not changed from fiscal 22-23. No pay raise or stipends have been included in the salary schedule due to failed negotiations with the Federation. I will address that a little later in my presentation. There are a few minor changes related to high school principals. All are now 11 months. An ROTC section has been added about their military pay. There is one addition to the schedule on pages 90 and 91, compensatory time policy for management employees. This policy is for employees on the management F schedule. Management personnel who work overtime hours under unusual circumstances that is beyond their job description can be granted comp time with superintendent and supervisor approval. An example would be IT and Channel 13 personnel working graduations. The procedures relating to granting comp time are outlined in the policy. In the supplemental pay section, page 93, a coach or teacher driving a bus after hours has been added to the field trip supplemental pay. On page 94, distant learning facilitator supplemental pay has been changed from 18 an hour to 25 an hour. On page 95, elementary and middle school music and instrumental wording has been refined with no change in pay. On page 96, the temporary authorization to teach, or TAT, mentors pay has been added to the alternative certification mentor section. And on page 99, a caveat has been added that supplemental pay requires prior approval and authorization and supervisor approval before payment. I have a PowerPoint with some general information on salaries and benefits, but I can take questions on the schedule itself now, or I can answer them after the presentation. Any questions?
Let's see the presentation.
Okay. Before I start the PowerPoint, I'd like to address, there's been a lot of questions about budgeting and fund balance, as it's been a topic related to pay raises. The district's current fund balance as of June 30, 22 was approximately $138 million. The district's current fund balance policy states that general fund balance should be committed, which means set aside, to a minimum of 15% of current fiscal year operations, including transfers, with a goal of 19%. 19% of current budgeted expenditures is $92.6 million. This was the recommendation of the Government Finance Officers Association, or GFOA, when this policy was adopted by the board in 2017. Since that time, GFOA recommendations have changed, and I will be recommending to the board that we adopt those recommendations at a future board meeting. Their current recommendations are as follows for fund balance. The adequacy of fund balance in the general fund should take into account each government's unique circumstances. Governments that are vulnerable to natural disasters, more dependent on a volatile revenue source, or potentially subject to cuts in state aid and/or federal grants may need to maintain a higher level in fund balance. Articulating these risks in a fund balance policy makes it easier to explain to stakeholders the rationale for seemingly higher than normal level of fund balance that protects taxpayers and employees from unexpected changes in financial position. GFOA recommends at a minimum that governments, regardless of size, maintain a fund balance in their general fund of no less than 2 months of regular general fund operating expenditures. A government's particular situation often may require a level of fund balance significantly in excess of this minimum level. Our current fund balance is approximately 2.5 to 3 months of current expenditures. Our monthly expenditures, depending on the time of year, average $40 to $50 million. Due to possibilities of hurricanes, unforeseen downturns in the economy like COVID, and the large number of employees we have, I recommend that the school board maintain 3 months of current expenditures in the fund balance or $150 million minimum, which we're not at that number at this time. This level of fund balance also helps to maintain our bond rating, which saves taxpayers money as our bond interest payments are lower with an excellent bond rating. In the case of a hurricane, the district would be able to continue with employee payroll and benefits for 3 months. FEMA is very slow to reimburse districts, and a limit was given for general operations, so we cannot depend on assistance from them, at least initially. We cannot count on state aid as it was obvious from the recent denial of permanent pay raises for public school teachers and employees that they can't be depended on to assist. The level of fund balance is a prime indicator that the district is maintaining a structurally balanced budget. Our current fund balance policy states that the fund balance may be drawn down due to extraordinary circumstances, meaning non-recurring expenditures, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and approval by the board. Sound budgeting practices require the district have a balanced budget with projected recurring revenues not exceeding projected recurring expenses. A truly structured, balanced budget is one that supports financial sustainability for multiple years in the future. My job as CFO is to make sure the recurring expenditures and any increases in any recurring expenditures for 1 year, such as pay raises, can be sustained in the future based on the information at hand. The district had a financial crisis in 2011 as a result of not carefully evaluating sustainability of pay raises given in 2007 to 2010. The district has recovered from the 2011 financial crisis, but programs had to be cut and pay raises were not given to employees for many years as a result of that. Our approach to budgeting should be conservative so as not to impact the education of the children in this parish and to ensure job security for our 5,800 plus employees. So I've prepared a PowerPoint with some general information about salaries and benefits. Some of this has previously been shared with the board, but I thought it was good information for the public. I have to thank Meredith Mendez and her team for helping me with the PowerPoint. So we'll get right into this. All right, the first 2 slides are a starting salary comparison to the top student enrollment districts, so districts our size, and surrounding school districts with their most recent posted salary schedule. A BA teacher pay is on the first line, where St. Tammany is very similar to districts our size within a few $100s, with one exception, that being St. Charles Parish. St. Charles Parish School Board has the highest starting salary in the state now, and none of the districts presented are near that starting salary. St. Charles was included on the spreadsheet due to its proximity to St. Tammany. St. Charles Parish is a much smaller district with approximately 10,000 students versus our 38,000 and 848 teachers versus our 2,800 plus teachers. St. Charles has a large industrial base and have had substantial increases in property taxes, as I spoke to their CFO, and this is mainly due to increases in prices of oil and due to a 10-year industrial tax exemptions, various ones that ended, so their property taxes escalated. I also provided starting salary comparison data for support positions when available. Not all school districts post that information on the website. They mainly just focus on teachers. I do want to point out that we have a salary study being conducted by a company at this point. and it should be complete in about a few months. This will give us a comparative analysis of Louisiana school districts and other districts throughout the country. We will make this data available as soon as it's complete. And the next slide has the same information, but for additional districts. St. Tammany's first, and then you have Ascension, Bossier, Bogalusa, Tangi, and so on. All right, the next slide is information on our health insurance. Health insurance premiums have not been raised since fiscal 2016. Lafayette and Calcasieu, that are similar in size to us and have similar plans. Lafayette had a premium increase projected of 4% for July 1st. Calcasieu has a 5.17% increase for July 1st. Office of Group Benefits, or OGB, is a state health insurance plan that most school districts use. They had a premium increase because they're a calendar year, 4.5% on January 1st of 2023. St. Tammany premiums will not increase this coming year, and no changes will be made to benefits for the coming fiscal year. The national average for health insurance premiums increases for 2023 is 4 to 5%. The next slide lists the premiums that active employees are currently paying for health insurance monthly. I've listed both the employee share and the school board share of the total premium with percentages. You can see the percentages the school board is paying are very high, which keeps the employee premiums low. The next slide is retiree health insurance premiums. These health insurance premiums are also very low for retirees and mainly funded by the school board, as you can see from the percentages. This health plan offers excellent coverage for our retirees. This slide is health insurance premium and benefit comparison to Calcasieu Parish, which again is similar to us, and OGB plans. You can note the difference in employee premiums for St. Tammany versus the other district and OGB. You can see St. Tammany for a single is 87.08, Calcasieu is 342.42 for a single, and OGB is 213.38 for a single. Office of Group Benefits. Okay, below the premiums are the plan deductibles and out-of-pockets for a single employee plan. St. Tammany's plan is better overall for deductibles and out-of-pockets when compared to the other two. I do need to point out for the OGB on the last line, the single out-of-pocket should be $3,500. I apologize, that's my mistake. I will correct that before we post this on board docs. Employee retirement benefits. St. Tammany has two main retirement systems, Teachers Retirement System of Louisiana and Louisiana School Employees Retirement System. Teachers Retirement covers administrative, teachers, clerical, paras, food service, and management. School Employees Retirement covers bus drivers, bus aides, maintenance, and custodial. For Teachers Retirement, the employee contributes 8% for every dollar they are paid, and the school board will contribute in fiscal 24, 24.1% for every dollar of payroll for those members. For School Employees Retirement, the employee contributes either 7.5% or 8%, depending on their interest date to the plan, and the school board will make a contribution in fiscal 2024 of 27.6% for every dollar of payroll for those members. All right, I've presented a total pay package, so, and I've just done it for a teacher, because that's our largest salary person in the bargaining units. The average salary of teachers for fiscal 23 was $58,567. The retirement contribution for that amount is $14,115. I've listed health insurance costs for two of our plans for a teacher. If the teacher's on a single plan, the cost of the board is $7,896. If the teacher's on a family plan, the cost to the school board is $15,861. So the total benefit package for a teacher on a single health insurance plan is $22,011, or 37.58% of their current salary. Total benefit package for a teacher on a family health insurance plan is $29,976, or 51.18%. Additional benefits are provided for basic life insurance, but I did not include those in this calculation. All right, as I stated earlier, the current salary schedule does not contain any provisions for pay raises or stipends. The Federation has rejected the administration's offer for pay raise and stipends for fiscal '24. The administration's offer was one permanent step for all employees with that's certificated 500 and support 350 for 9-month employees. Employees who work more than 9 months receive a weighted step based on days worked. Second was a one-step replacement stipend, certificated 500 and support 350 for 9-month employees. Employees who work more than 9 months would receive a weighted step replacement stipend based on days worked. To receive this stipend, the employee must have been employed as of June 30th, still be employed on October 1st, and if a teacher, they must have an effective rating. Stipend will become a permanent step in fiscal 2025 if certain financial criteria were met. Based on my current projections from the past week for fiscal 2025 and recent information from the assessor that the reassessment of the tax roll that will occur in that year would yield property tax increases of 6 to 8%. So 2 permanent pay levels are very likely for fiscal 2025, and other compensation may be negotiated depending on projected results of fiscal '24. The stipend would be paid in total on October 31st. The stipend is recommended due to the high cost of inflation impacting our budget, and projected revenue growth is only 2% for fiscal 2024. Fiscal 2025 is preliminary projected to higher revenue growth, but no further guarantees for fiscal 2025 are recommended until next spring due to there could be unforeseen circumstances. The administration also offered a $1,000 longevity stipend. Employees would receive a $1,000 check when they received a milestone pin, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, et cetera. The administrator offered a $500 wellness stipend awarded to any employee who misses 3 days or less of sick leave. Both of these stipends were requested by numerous employees. I'm sorry. Okay, so requested by numerous employees. Both of these stipends were removed from the initial proposal as they were both rejected by the Federation in the second bargaining session. Based on projections, 1,700 employees would have been eligible for one or more of these stipends. As everyone knows, the state removed permanently funded pay raises for teachers of $2,000 and support staff of $1,000. The state opted to pay stipends to districts in the same amounts with no guarantee that the stipends would become permanent for fiscal '25. The payment date of these stipends are yet to be determined. The state stipends will be paid as state releases guidelines and funding. The school board will weight the $2,000 and $1,000 for employees who work more than 9 months and pay the additional retirement costs out of local funds. The state only pays the cost of the stipend and retirement, so the other payroll costs of workers' compensation and Medicare taxes will also be paid with local funds, as it normally is with state-granted stipends. Local costs of the district for benefits and weighting of stipends is approximately $1 million. The school board and the Federation previously approved teacher demand and effectiveness stipends and pay as follows. Working at a targeted school, $500 stipend. Teaching a critical subject, $500 stipend. Earning an advanced degree, $1,000 permanent base pay increase. Effective rating of 3.0 or higher, $1,000 stipend. Transfer to a SWE position, $1,000 permanent base pay increase. Transfer to an OFAP position, $500 permanent base pay increase. These stipends are not reflected in the current salary schedule due to Act 1. The law requires that teacher compensation be based on 3 criteria, which are experience, demand, and effectiveness, with no one criterion accounting for more than 50% of the formula. The Federation has agreed to the demand and effectiveness criterion compensation, but not the experience criteria compensation. So no compensation can be paid to any employee, including management administration, until the Federation agrees to the experience portion of the pay steps and/or step stipends. The law overrides the CBA and board action, unfortunately. If the experience portion is agreed upon, the demand and effective stipends will be added back to the salary schedule. The next slide indicates the average cost of one permanent step by bargaining unit. Remember, employees who work more than 9 months are weighted, so the average is increased by those employees with weighted steps. So that's why they're not necessarily 350 and 500 for everyone. The next column is the average percent of the local pay raise of 1 step in relation to the current average salary for members of each bargaining unit. Third column is the current average salary for all employees of each bargaining unit. The average 1-step local raise is added to the current salary to arrive at a proposed salary for fiscal 2024. That is permanent pay. The next column lists average total eligible pay raises, 1 step, and eligible stipends and other pay that are outlined in the bottom of the chart and I've discussed previously. To be clear, that is only total eligible stipend and pay and not guaranteed. Not every employee in the bargaining unit would receive each individual stipend, as they may not be eligible depending on the criteria. This is just a possible total for the employee in that group. All employees would receive the step replacement stipend and the state stipend. The final column indicates the average percentage of possible compensation each employee in the bargaining unit may receive with this proposal. Again, not all employees will be eligible for all the proposed stipends, but except for, of course, the step replacement that we're proposing and the state stipend. The proposed cost of this pay package, as outlined in this presentation, will be $12 to $13 million for fiscal 2024. But this pay package cannot be implemented without approval of the Federation. We will have to bring the salary schedule back when agreement is reached on the different pay with the Federation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, before we go to public comment, I would like to have the board, while it's fresh, ask if they have any specific questions. We'll reserve that for public comment. But if we have any questions from the board? Oh, line up. Ms. Rutherford?
Yes, I see that the teacher average salary is $58,567. What is the average of our teachers' years of service across St. Helens?
I don't have that information. I would have to get that from HR. That's,
Yeah. But if we know the average salary, we would be able to know kind of.
I mean, I could calculate it, I
Okay.
didn't calculate it. What I see is where they're on a step. So I
Okay.
see like they're on step 20, but that doesn't
Right.
equate, because of Act 1 does not
Right,
equate to their
the
experience.
years.
So
Okay.
I'd have to get that from an HR source, and then I'd have to average it. But I can get that information.
Okay, that would be great, thanks.
Ms. Moore?
Sure. You know, as a retired educator, one of the things that I always want to give credit for is, of course, experience, and I see that the Federation hasn't agreed to that portion, whereas everybody across the board, is that what you're saying, would get the same amount? They won't agree, and maybe you can
Well,
address.
no one
when
gets
it's pub-
any-
When it gets public. Yeah.
No one gets anything until they agree to an amount of compensation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Who's next? Ms. Fauntleroy?
I actually want to make a statement, and my question is actually for Mr. Jabbia. Is that okay? I just want to say, this week has been heartbreaking for me. I went into this for teachers, and I fully see everything you're facing, the struggles, and I went into this to try to make it better. And a phrase that just kept coming to me all week, that a house divided can't stand. And this week has felt very divisive to me, very unsettled. And I know when we're in a position like that, the one thing we all agree on is we love the kids and we want what's best for the kids. So my statement is, I would just ask that everyone focus on the kids, and let's try to come to some resolution so that we can get back to the work that it helps our kids. My question is, I appreciate your presentation. It was very thorough. And I guess I'm just a little slow. But Mr. Jabbia, can you just in lay terms clearly spell out what the very best we can offer our employees is.
You know, from the time the Federation talks broke down, I guess this weekend, when Mr. Osborne reached out to me, the team has met every day that I could, and by phone, because I've been in Lafayette. Terry and I and Steve, you know, to taking a very hard look at everything we have, and Terry kind of addressed it as she in her presentation. The best that this board can do to be fiscally responsible, make sure that we are doing the very best for our employees, is to make both steps permanent right now. So instead of a step and a step stipend, it would be 2 steps for all employees. So it'd be $1,000 for teachers, $700 for support, and then everything else that we had spelled out that Mr. Osborne has on his MOU is on there. We could agree to everything that was on this last MOU and the 2 steps being permanent. But that's all that I can do as superintendent. Anything else we would have to dip into fund balance. We would have to do things that are not fiscally responsible for this district and for this community. So, but those are the absolute best. That's the absolute best that I can do with all the information that Terry and Steve and I and Ms. Hart have sat down and gone over as many times as we can.
Okay, so it seems to me that this has been out there for a month, and we have not been able to come to an agreement. I can't see, I think Mr. Osborne has said he's not willing to sign that, so I don't see us making any progress. And what I'm afraid of happening is that our employees get caught in this stalemate, and our employees end up getting nothing. And that totally goes in the face of what I believe in. Because I don't want you guys to end up with nothing because we can't come to an agreement. And I'm new to this and the way it works, but Mr. Breaux, I would like to add an item to the agenda. I know that does require a unanimous vote to add an item to the agenda, but I think that it's in the best interest of our district to settle this and let our teachers go on with their summer and let us go on into focusing on other things like working conditions. So I would like to add an item to the agenda to consider offering everything Mr. Jaby had just said we are able to offer, and let's just vote on that as a board and settle it today.
Before we add something to the agenda, can we just find out if Mr. Osborne would even agree to that?
I don't know how this works.
All right, thank you, board, and thank you, Ms. Fauntleroy,
I
for
don't,
this.
okay, I don't know how this,
They just called me up.
I don't think so.
I'm sorry.
Yes or no? I know it's-
Well, I mean, I thought you wanted an answer.
no,
so I
that's
came
fine.
up.
I don't mind hearing your answer.
Mr. Breaux, just sit.
Oh, wait.
Wait.
Oh,
we
okay,
have-
yeah. We didn't get through board comments. I'm
Let's
sorry.
get
Sure,
through
sure.
our questions.
Sure thing.
We're still questioning the presentation.
Sorry.
At an appropriate time, I'll let you
Okay,
introduce a motion.
come back to that. Okay.
Are you finished with the questions?
I don't want to prevent other people from speaking. That wasn't my intent.
Okay, are you finished with the questions to Ms. Prevost? From
Oh,
tonight?
yes. My motion was to add the item to the agenda.
We're going to finish this one
And then go back and add to the agenda? Okay.
Dr. Peterson?
Sorry, Ms. Hanson.
Oh, Ms. Sampson?
Okay, I noticed in your presentation that you said the maximum, so to speak, that, say, a teacher could get was 9,047, which appears to be a 15.45% increase. But that's the max. That's if somebody met every single eligibility
Exactly,
category.
exactly.
Okay. Which, which includes, of course, the wellness, longevity, the steps, the targeted school, the critical subject, advanced degree, and the state, every one of them that have to meet everyone. So they're like end up being that superhero that steps up and fits every category, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
if you're out there, just heard that.
Yeah, that's why I made it clear.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just possible.
Which is possible.
Yeah.
What is the minimum that they would get? Because, perhaps I'm not at
Well,
that
based
school,
on
you
this
know?
proposal, whether it's a raise or a step, it's the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna spread that second step over 12 of the 12 months, so 24 payments, when the stipend would have been a one-time and
Mm-hmm.
then guaranteed for next year. But, either, whatever the board wishes to do, that's fine. Same cost, but,
The minimum would be 3,000, right,
the
Terry?
minimum would be, the state stipend and.
State?
The state stipend.
Which is
Which
2,000.
is
That-
2,000.
That's
Right,
automatic for everybody.
Right.
That's,
Okay.
when I say no compensation, that can't be blocked. That's coming from the state. So
State,
everybody's
2,000.
gonna get that regardless.
Everybody's gonna get that.
They're gonna get that.
So
And
check,
if-
I got that
If this
one.
proposal got agreed to, a 500 step and another 500 step, that's another 1,000. That's
Okay,
3,000.
if we were to go, because currently, right now, if I understood it correctly, it was a 500 step and a 500 stipend.
Right.
Now, I know it's divided over 12 months, but.
Right, it's the same
if
amount for the employee, though.
It's the same
for the year.
amount, but in it, 2 steps then, like? It's
No,
not 2
it's the
steps.
same amount, so
It's the
it's-
same amount, but.
Yeah, it would be
So at
$1,000.
minimum, a teacher would get 3,000, which
Correct.
isn't
And then-
in comparison of what teachers do or our support employees, it's minimum, but still, everyone at the minimum, they'd get 3,000.
And then many of the teachers get the targeted school, critical subject, and effectiveness, that was 4 points.
It's like
I
90%.
just want to know,
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing I want to say is, I don't want to give anyone the false impression that, and I know that's why you put this as if they reach every stipend. I don't want to give someone the false impression that they're going to get some eligibility.
Right,
And
that's
may
why I
not.
was- I tried to be
But
clear, right.
everyone fits into that $3,000 category.
Exactly.
As far as teachers are
Teachers.
concerned.
Yeah,
Right,
teachers.
teachers.
And then, so therefore, every support employee fits into the
1,700.
1,700. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Could I make one other thing that I didn't bring in the presentation? We do have the employee salary reserve in place, so any surpluses we have, meaning revenues exceed expenditures and transfers. So if we have a surplus for fiscal '23, which ends next week, and we have a surplus for fiscal '24, the employees will get half of that surplus distributed to them in the following November. So that's extra pay. If I'm off on my numbers, and we have. Right, that's not calculated in this, because I don't know what it'll be, but, yeah, it's a one-time payment, it's an equal payment, all employees that I calculate. It was 1428, I think 1428 or something this past fall. So, right, sure.
Christie, cancel Dr. Peterson, please.
Ms. Baker?
Thank you for all this information. That's exactly what I was going to ask. So that is a permanent. No. The extra fund, what you,
The
we're just
employee
talking.
salary reserve is a permanent
Is a
thing in the
permanent
future.
thing, so
So
we-
anytime we have surpluses, it will not roll to fund balance, but it will be shared with employees at half.
So that
So-
is a built-in permanent.
It's permanent.
Thing.
It will be
So
every year.
anytime that there is a surplus in that budget, half of that surplus will go directly to all employees, and last year that amount was 14.
It was, I think, 1428 roughly.
Okay, and that's a every year permanent thing.
Right, as long as we have a surplus.
As
And as
long
long
as
as
we
it's
have-
big enough that I can give us at least $100 to the employees, because we wouldn't want to get like in nickels and dimes. But, yeah, but so anytime our revenues are unexpectedly larger than we projected, the employees will share in that at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Rufino Gallagher?
So based on that, it's permanent to the extent of if you have it. So right now,
Right.
it should be treated as a stipend.
It's a stipend, but many,
Okay. Oh, hold up, hang on. I hear y'all out there. Hang tight. That's why I'm asking. So last year, they got a stipend.
correct.
But, because it's not permanent, they don't get $1,400 again this year. So it's technically
No.
a stipend.
It could be
So-
more, it could be less.
Right.
But a lot of school districts utilize stipends in their salary calculations. A lot of these districts that have very high salaries in the average state salaries, like your Red River, DeSoto, most of that pay is built into stipends that may not be permanent. So that's
Right.
how they control their budget, and they do it. But a lot of them could just continue every year.
Okay. I get that. So we have a week left. Do you have any idea if there's money left?
I've projected it's going to be very close, but I have revenue sources that I've been told may come in that I budgeted. Medicaid, we get about $5 million. I'm not too hopeful I'm going to get that before, we have to close by August 31st by standards. So if I don't receive it by then, I can't book it in this year, so that'll be a deficit. It depends on, we have 2 more sales tax payments. We have 2 more months of property tax, which that's just trickling in at this point. We're pretty much received all the property tax for the year.
Okay, well, hold
So
on,
it
I'm
all depends
confused
on
because
that.
you said we have a week left, but now you're talking about stuff 2 months
yeah,
out. So I
no,
don't, I'm not
yeah.
understanding it.
Okay,
And
the
neither
way-
are they, clearly.
Okay, yeah, okay. The way it works is if it's revenue that's earned in the year. So there's a 2-month lag on sales tax. So April sales tax, we just received in June.
Okay,
May sales tax, I'll receive in July.
okay.
June sales tax, I'll receive in August. So we have to book that back in this year. Even though it's physically closed, and we have to accrue revenue that belongs in this fiscal year. Same thing with the expenditures. If I get an invoice dated June 30th or prior, I may get it in July, which we will get a lot of invoices, and we'll get invoices even in August. I have to book those back into the year. We're required to do that by standards. We have to go out 60 days. Now, anything that's dated in July or August will be in the new fiscal year. But we do pay a lot of, because it's just like your home. You're getting invoices for your electricity in the next month. So I have to book that back in the fiscal year.
Right, no, when I ask this question, I do not mean it in any negative way, which shape or
Sure,
form.
sure.
Do we have any idea, like, do we just have invoices floating around that we don't know anything about? Like, or do we have an idea of like, hey, we paid for this these light fixtures to come in, we haven't paid the bill yet. Do we know what that is?
No, there's no way to know. They come in from
Okay.
all over. But
Okay.
I will tell you, we've made $20 million in budget amendments in the last 4 months, and we're not alone. I talked to several school districts. They're all experiencing the same thing. So $20 million I didn't budget has been added. We have 3 more payrolls that will post June 29th. I will have a better idea then. I have projected out, and I think we'll be okay. But I can't predict until I get all the way through the calculation. So we got our utility bill. We had to amend the budget by $1 million to pay it. So, I mean, that's just, unfortunately, that's the.
Is
way
that
of-
just because electricity costs went up, or we just didn't budget it
Everything's gone
correctly? I
up
don't know.
substantially.
Again, I'm not being ugly, I'm just asking.
Yeah, all of our, any kind of maintenance bill, any kind of maintenance bills, for our building maintenance, equipment maintenance, all that's gone up. Our garbage collection went up 100,000. I mean, so that means the next budget's gonna have to be increased for that amount. So that's gonna make our expenditures larger, and that reduces any surpluses we have. So, but until I see all the revenue numbers, and I will have a better idea on Thursday, but I have been doing projections. I feel a little better because we do have some budgets that weren't spent. So that will offset budgets that were overspent. So, and these budgets, unfortunately, it's something we have to do. It's like utilities. There's no way around it. We can't cut costs. But we have denied any expenditures that, we were at the budget limit that were, discretionary. Yeah.
And I'm gonna sound like a smart aleck here, but I don't mean to. I wish we would have waited till next Thursday to have this meeting, so you would have had that information more readily available than saying, I'm not sure what we can do, when it's a week from today that we could have had that information. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's your fault,
Yeah.
I'm just saying it in general, like, if we knew that on the 29th, we would have had a better idea, we could have waited and you'd have had a better idea. I get
no,
it,
we
but
still-
she just said she would have stop for a second, please. She just said she would have had a better idea on the 29th. That's all I'm saying.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I understand, but a salary schedule has to be input in the system. We start paying employees the 1st of July, and it takes a while to do this, to prepare this thing and change numbers. It would be almost impossible if you approved it next week, especially if pay changes. So it would be almost impossible to get it in. At this point, any negotiations and numbers that change, I'm going to have to redo the whole book. My payroll will have to re-enter it, and then we're going to have to retro pay people money for July. So it would probably be August before we could get the pay in. So we're going to have to, my payroll department's going to have to retro pay everybody that's 11 and 12-month employee, meaning they'll have to go back and pay them for July for back pay. Yeah. So.
Ms. Rutherford, Ms. Rutherford.
Okay. I like the idea that you said the 2-step increase, right? A 2-step
Two-step
permanent. Okay.
Correct.
Which would be better because it would be a pay raise, a permanent pay raise
Correct.
instead of a stipend.
Correct.
So that is, I mean, I'm looking out for the teachers of getting the raise that they deserve. They working with the students, and
All employees
all employees would
would
get
receive
that.
2 steps in their proper class, whether it
Okay.
be 350 each step or
So
500 each step.
in the
correct?
MOU, we were offering a one-step, correct?
1 step and 1
And
stipend.
one stipend.
Correct.
So this, to me, is better for everybody to get a permanent pay raise of a two-step
In the long term, yes,
in
it
the
is.
long term.
Right, in the long run,
Yes.
sure.
Okay, and, but you had said a while back that in the budget, we may not be able to afford to do this.
Right, well, I did know numbers, but I think we're getting confused. The ending for this year doesn't
Mm-hmm.
impact next year because we haven't even prepared the budget totally
For
for
next
next
year,
year. So
right.
I don't know what expenditures will be, what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So we're tagging an expenditure on next year. And I know inflation has skyrocketed, so that means
Mm-hmm.
all of the budget numbers are gonna be larger. If there's any kind of extra expenses, our federal funding is slowly ending in the ESSER, so
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to pull in any costs that were recurring, like nurses. All that's gonna have to be pulled into the budget, and that's millions of dollars. So, you know, that, I'm thinking long range, but the $500 stipend costs the same for next year as a 500 step.
Right.
And I feel confident that I've talked to the assessor, he's saying 6 to 8% for fiscal '25, so that we could definitely cover that, sustain it, and possibly do more compensation for fiscal '25. We just have to project at that point. I just can't project a
Right.
year away right
So if
now.
we give them a two-step now,
Right.
we could
may be able to
possibly do another
oh,
step or
definitely,
two later.
Definitely, I want to make that
Definitely.
clear.
That's
I
what
mean,
we
yeah.
need to do for these teachers.
Absolutely. We did a large pay raise last year, so, I mean, all districts, when you do a large raise, you kind of have to make sure, okay, was it enough revenue to cover that big amount?
Mm-hmm.
And is it going to, you're going to still have increases to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
because one step costs $3.4 million. So you just don't want to keep adding to the budget when your revenues aren't there, because then you get in trouble. And that's what happened to us in 11. And we had to cut, employees getting raises for many, many years, and we cut lots of programs. Some of them haven't been added back yet, you know, so there's things that we had back then that we don't have now.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks.
Do we have more?
Ms. Kuzan.
Mr. Kuzan?
Thank you very much. I would like to see our employees get as much as they can. But I don't want us to forget that our legislators didn't make that raise permanent. They only gave a stipend, okay? That's all I want you to remember. They didn't, that should have been made permanent for our teachers and our employees. That was just a stipend. Don't forget that. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Okay, the $58,567 average teacher pay. Was that all teachers, even the ones that work 12 months a year, or?
Yes, it's an
Okay,
average. So I take the whole bargaining unit and I average their salary, so, but there's not that many.
Yeah.
Most of them are 9 months, but
What
there's
I,
a few.
what I was trying to
Yeah.
get at is 181 days, 8 hours a day.
Right.
How much per
7.
hour? But
They work
since
7.
it's a mix, I can't do that, so.
Yeah, but it's not that, you're talking about a handful of people. It's like, it's not that many people. You
Well,
only-
if it was just the 181,
Right,
if it was just those, that's over $43 an hour.
yeah. I can adjust it for that if you'd like. you know.
Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just, I was just trying to do back of the napkin things.
Yeah.
The 1428 that we did with revenue sharing,
Yes,
was that included in your numbers when you compared to surrounding parishes?
no,
So in essence, there was only one parish that was close to, I mean, that we weren't higher than. And they were only higher by $300. So when we distributed 1,400 to everybody, we became the second highest right after St. Charles by $1,000 more than any surrounding.
Jefferson was a little larger than us by about 400, but I
By
have to.
400 before the 1,400.
Right, but I didn't include, those parishes have stipends too. I didn't include their stipends. That was just base pay.
Okay,
So I'm just,
so they
I'm
could have
looking at a
had,
starting salary for a teacher. I compared that by district to be fair, and every one of them has different stipends. Some have none, have very few. We have a lot, and there's others that have stipends. But Jefferson doesn't have as many as we do, so we're probably above them if you count that
That's what
And
I'm
then
saying, is
St.
we're
Charles, we
probably
can't- we
above
can't
all
touch.
the surrounding parishes except for St. Charles. So
Correct.
we are remaining competitive.
Yes.
You know, I agree, we need to pay teachers more, but
Nobody- I wanna
nobody
just-
else is paying them more
I
than we
want to
are.
make this clear, nobody wants to pay employees more than I do. I mean, I have 20 people underneath me, not all of them make a lot of money. It's important to me, but I owe the taxpayers and these employees, because if we get expending more money than we're bringing in recurring, we will have to dip in fund balance, and it will be gone fast, like it was in 2011. And then nobody gets pay raises, and we'll be lucky if we don't have to, well, we had to cut positions through attrition with $20 million, so that was services that were lost. And I don't ever want to get to where we have a layoff, because that's happened to some districts, so we never want to get to that. So we just have to balance, and some year you'll have a big raise, not so much the next, but hopefully next 25, with the reassessment, with the extra revenue, we can do more.
Thank you. Now, we'll open it up to public comment, I think. I'm sorry.
Sorry, couldn't find my mic button. So you said that you're making this, making this 500, second 500 permanent instead of just a stipend. That's based on the projection that our property taxes are going up?
Right, because the cost of either the step or the stipend for the coming fiscal year is the same cost.
Right,
But
okay.
if you make it permanent, it will be permanent in the fiscal 25, and I believe there will be enough revenue
I
there.
actually was in an event where Mr. Fitzmore spoke, and he did say our assessments were going up, which is good news for our money, bad news
Not
for
the
us.
taxpayers. But we don't control that. So I
right.
just want to make that clear. We've actually rolled back 25 mills, so, yeah. I don't
Right.
want anybody to blame that on us.
So, and then I want to reiterate something Mr. Kuzan said. I mean, yes, I too want to give it teachers everything we can, but we're elected, and like Mr. Osborne's elected by you guys, the teachers. We're elected by an entire tax base. So we're elected by people who are not teachers as well. So that's why I asked Mr. Jabbia the question, because I want to give you guys everything we can, and it's still at the same time do my job for the people who elected me. I just wanted to clear that up. And then do I need to make the motion again, or I know Mr. Osborne may correct me, because I know I've heard him say a million times, we control the money. So I'm assuming I can do this. So I want to make the motion that we add this to the agenda today.
My gut feeling is that we have to finish this first.
Finish what?
The
public
motion that's
comment?
on the floor for the salary, and hear from the public on the pay scale.
Okay,
And then we can, if you want to add that to the agenda, we'll address it at that time.
okay.
We have anyone else?
I'm not making an amendment. I'm just making to add
That's-
something to the agenda.
Right,
Right,
so that's a
okay.
new motion.
Okay, got you.
Mr. Peterson.
I just have a point of clarification for myself. Is that unproposed, if $1,000 was going to be made available, is that something that could be rejected through a negotiation? Is that part of that too?
Yeah, the Federation
So in other words, there's a
decides
chance that
what-
we would not be able to do what we'd like to do if negotiations fail.
That's
But this is what we can do and what we'd like to do and what we can afford to do.
Correct.
And, okay, thank you.
All right. Now we'll open the floor up for comments from the public. Mr. Osborne.
All right, and Mr. Brough would like more than 2 minutes and to be able to answer any questions, being that I'm the chief negotiator for all
I will
employees.
grant you,
Thank you.
could you set the clock for 5 minutes?
I'm just, part of my 5 minutes, I have to comment. I think some of the tensions and the misunderstandings is you're only hearing one narrative. This board's only hearing one narrative. They're not hearing the Federation side about how things went. So for instance, the last time I sat down with Superintendent Jabbia and his team, this was our ask, the 2 steps permanent. We would have been done with all of this. That was our ask, and that wasn't that long ago. Now, I want to make sure, there were some other supplementals that don't cost much, but I want to make sure that this is going to be part of this deal. So I'm just going to quickly go through. So in addition to those 2 pay levels being made permanent, no increase in health insurance premiums or changes in benefits, including co-pays, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs for employees. There was a section about support employees if they receive certain types of certification. Let's say an electrician gets a certain certification, management discretion would assign them maybe a pay level or something like that. So that was something both sides were eager about, but everything's different, right? We don't want somebody just to be able to get online really quickly and have something, so they were gonna have to vet those. Custodians working at schools that host summer programs, they're cleaning up like they normally do, but they still have to wax the floors. So we both came up with a $500 stipend in June and $500 in July for those particular custodians affected by that. Bus aides, if they're filling in for another bus aide and they're having to commute longer than they normally do, they would be basically given that little bit of extra mileage so they're not coming out of pocket just to help the system. Flag team and color guard would be added to the sports teams, eligible for the coaching stipend of 3%. And then the final item, the food service employees will be paid a uniform clothing allowance of $100 each contract year. So that eliminates the free shirts, but it allows them the chance, and I think Mr. Davis would be excited about this, to buy slip-resistant shoes. You know, we don't want our folks falling down and we're out and paying up all that money. So, but I just wanted to make sure that that was preserved. I mean, I'm prepared to accept it. I mean, I know this has been tense. This is a new board. I think that's a good faith effort on Superintendent Jabia's part. I will say this, though. $1,000 for teachers is $38 a check. Okay, so we're still negotiating a pay cut for these folks. So I need all of us to look forward to next year, the next set of negotiations, and really try to find in the budget, maybe we can ask Mr. Broom and the audit committee, find in the budget permanent raises so we keep moving this thing forward, and hopefully the state will come through on their end. All of this hit the skids because I respect Ms. Prevost's expert opinion, but the sources she's citing, that's not board policy. So that was my concern, that board policy regarding fund balance was not being funded. So maybe you will have to revisit that. But all it says in the fund balance rules is you keep 21 million for your AA bond rating, and the rest of that is assigned to local priorities. That includes salaries, benefits, and other educational expenses. So if you tell me we can't peel off out of 117 million to fund, then we need to change what the local priorities are. But I know the public doesn't care about the bond rating, even though we know it's very important. They want their child to have high-quality professionals at every point of service for their child, and they want their child to have the best opportunity to succeed in life. That's what they want. And so we do have to be balanced, but to me, there's a difference between being fiscally conservative and being stingy. We never miss payroll ever. We can't let one low point in history stop us from doing what we need to do, which is to once again, as we were under Ms. Gail Sloan, be the #1 educational employer in the state. And often we were #1 in pay and #1 in performance. And I think that's a model we can look at again. Thank you.
Ms. Prevost?
Is it okay if I address something?
Well, if it's short.
It is. The fund balance he's referred to, I wrote, he's misinterpreting it, but there's a clause in there that says the fund balance can only be basically dipped into under extraordinary circumstances. And it has to be approved by the board and the superintendent. A pay raise is not an extraordinary circumstance. It's meaning a disaster or something else, so. Yeah, I mean, so I just need to clarify
Okay.
that, so, thanks.
Anyone else from the public? Ms. Barrios?
Lee Barrios, retired teacher. I hope this new school board doesn't allow itself to be used to foment dissension and disdain between the employees of this district who are represented by the union through a collective bargaining agreement and administration and you, the school board. If you do take action tonight that appears to be designed to do that, it would be a huge mistake. And the first time since I started working 30 years ago, it doesn't appear now, since you've made some offer here that is reasonable, that it would do that. It was suggested to me that the state $2,000 stipend for teachers and $1,000 for support personnel could be transformed by the local district into a raise, 1,000 or more permanent raise for teachers and 500 for support employees or whatever, and the rest with stipends. That would supplant, and there doesn't seem to be any prohibition in that state offer for you to do that. It would save you the money that you're talking about spending now, and it would give the teachers and encourage the teachers and the employees this year with a good significant raise. As long as you use that money for the employees, at least the 2,000 and 1,000 in some way. So I would suggest that you think about that. Thank you.
Please step up to the podium and state your name.
Hi, I'm Trinity Noble, Lee Road teacher. I was gonna speak later, but this paragraph really meets for the needs right now. I'm one of the rare people in the parish who got a raise because I'm a special education teacher. I have a master's plus 30. I teach in a critical area. And I say this because the enticing $1,000 here, $500 there on top of stipends for this and that, we're told we can only get if we further go into debt to learn more in our profession. To say that the typical teacher or new employee that you could get this amazing raise is a bit faulty. I have a lot of debt that still needs to be paid, and I'm in school yet again. I will almost never be highly effective because of VAM and the area of need that I teach. So I am one of the fortunate ones who got the hefty raise. This is my 20th year teaching and have a lot of credentials, and it's just kind of disheartening to hear that we don't feel supported. And along with that, we have the bus drivers, the custodians, the paras, the maintenance workers, and our cafeteria workers who still benefit because their salaries are so low right now.
You. Please step up and state your name.
Hi, I'm Sophie Bean. I'm a parent and a taxpayer. I just want to respond to Ms. Fauntleroy, who said y'all are here to represent the taxpayers. I'm not a school teacher. I don't work for the school board. I'm here because I'm genuinely concerned that my kids won't have teachers next year. My high school student started the year last year without a science teacher. Can y'all tell me that what you are doing is enough? Will every school have all of the teachers that they need? Or will there be classes that don't have a math teacher, don't have a science teacher? Because if they're doing online programming or combining classes, those kids are not getting enough of an education. Are those kids going to be left behind? Is what we're doing enough? Thank you.
Please state your name. When you get to the podium.
I was going to have 3 minutes, but it's relevant now, so okay, I'm going to read fast. All right, I'm a mother of 3 boys in our school, and I'm here to advocate for a teacher pay raise. I'm not a teacher, but I felt compelled to speak today on their behalf. Why? First reason is that I'm empathetic. I've substituted in our schools, and I've volunteered hundreds of hours of my kids' classes. I've witnessed firsthand what's required of teachers day in and out, the hats they have to wear. Tell me, in what other profession is one required to lead, intuit, discipline, comfort, adapt, assess, lesson plan, and follow a strict schedule, all while being graded herself on her ability to impart knowledge to a couple dozen children. Let's not forget teachers are mandatory reporters, so they must always remain vigilant. Club leaders, so they must often remain after school, and paper graders, so they must go home and work even more hours. And sadly, I must add protector to that list, since teachers are now tasked with keeping their classroom safe should a gunman take arms against our children. What other profession asks these demands of a person at a salary that is far below what similarly educated professionals are paid? I realize most teachers go into education because it's a calling and they love teaching, but at some point, as inflation rises and the gap increases between what teachers and other college-educated professionals earn, something has to give. Nobody goes into teaching to get rich, but a college-educated professional with the weight teachers are tasked with carrying should not have to worry about how to make ends meet. It's a fact that 37% of Louisiana teachers work a second job. It's unconscionable to me that we don't value our teachers enough to pay them a living wage. A person can only do so much, and right now we're asking too much of our teachers. The second reason I'm here today is because I'm scared. I'm scared because I know that if the average teacher's salary continues to grow in disparity from other professional career paths, it's impossible for education to improve. Impossible. This is an untenable situation. Good educators will continue to flee. Potentially good educators will simply never be. These people will choose to do what's best for them in a broken system that denies meaningful pay raises but continues to add unreasonable demands to a job that already demanded unparalleled duties will not, I assure you, be what's best for them.
We should all speak so fast we'd get out of here earlier. Mr. Jabi, there was, oh, we have another, go ahead.
I'm Jeff Richards. I'm a business owner, a taxpayer in the parish. I have one child left in the system. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. Since 2020, not only have the teachers had to deal with COVID, like all of us, but inflation, according to CPI, has gone up 17.5%. That means if you're a teacher, we're making 50 grand a year in 2020, your 50 grand is now worth $41,500. $100 at the grocery store in 2020, you got $100 worth of groceries. Today, it costs you $117.50 for the same groceries. Okay, and like the young lady said, nobody goes into teaching to get rich. I understand that. But in the private sector, the dynamic that is currently in place would result in upward pressure on teacher pay. You've got a shortage, supply and demand. That would require that you pay more. This is the only industry that I know of where the opposite is true. That these poor teachers are having to do more and more and more in the classroom, and they're effectively being paid less and less and less. So I understand. We have the realities of our budgets and tax base and all that to consider. But at every point along the way, you guys have to understand that these teachers are the motor of what drives the educational process. And our kids are going to be the ones to suffer if we continue to lose teachers at the rate that we're losing them. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Pam Desmond. I'm a speech therapist in the system. I've been here for 16 years, but a speech therapist for 25. My adjusted gross income has not changed since I started with this system. Really, everyone who spoke before me said everything I was going to say, except that in response to Ms. Prevost's presentation about expenditures, we have the same thing at home. I mean, we can't pay our bills. Like, our light bill went up too. So I just wanted to say, please consider that. Thank you.
I'm Louetta Marchant Stewart. I'm a teacher, parent, and taxpayer of St. Tammany Parish. I'm addressing you today to urge you to consider a significant permanent pay raise for teachers and support staff. I understand that we just received a pay raise last year, but that was a Band-Aid on an open wound. I'm an expert at my craft. I have over 20 years of experience, and I'm a St. Tammany Parish School Board certified content leader, and I've assisted in writing curriculum for my subject area, as well as have additional training on the ACT. Though St. Tammany Parish doesn't have high school teachers who are paid as master teachers like other districts do, I would absolutely qualify as one. Additionally, I hold an education from The Ohio State, Oxford University in England, the University of New Orleans, and the Walt Disney World College Program. I'm also a single parent and a homeowner. Our homeowners insurance in Louisiana is a debacle and a financial burden teachers cannot take on. Why? Because we have not received a raise in over 10 years. I have questions. Why did we get rid of the steps to reward our seasoned teachers for committing to the classroom? They were a way to avoid constant conflict without substantial raises that are never going to be affordable. What is our financial plan to attract potential employees, especially young ones, with outstanding student loans that come with exponential costs? We are seeing, based on the vacancy list, that they are not only leaving the profession, but also avoiding it altogether. What is the plan to maintain the experts in their field of study, such as myself? We have no potential to increase our pay unless we leave the classroom. What is the incentive to a core subject teacher, such as myself with a bachelor's degree in their area of study, to continue to teach? Is the expectation that I continue to work without adequate compensation, or is the expectation that I leave the classroom in order to seek an increase in pay? Or should I just leave the profession altogether in order to seek an adequate basic compensation? Thank you.
My name is Brittany Bracey. I'm a parent of students in the parish and a teacher as well. First, I'd like to say that I fully understand and highly respect the need for a conservative budget. I believe that every party involved here has the best intentions for the district as a whole, so that it can function and thrive for many years in the future. I believe that every party involved wants the best for our children. That being said, I wish I had the personal financial freedom to allow for a conservative budget in my own household. Instead, I have to be creative. I move money, I pace my spending, and I say no to certain luxuries. I have seen the same type of creative spending here in this room. Funds have been moved, certain salaries have been increased, and millions of dollars of luxuries have been purchased by the school board. Teachers and support staff are not luxuries. We are essential. All we are asking is that the same creative budgeting be used for our salaries. Not next year, not at the next year, but because we've heard that too many times. Second, there has been a lot of talk about comparing us to other parishes. Please remember that our cost of living is higher than those parishes as well. Also remember that those parishes have the same teacher shortages we do. If we want to be competitive in the job market, we have to be competitive with the salaries. To me, a teacher shortage is an extraordinary circumstance. Please don't think about the parish's budget. Or no, not please don't. People, employees don't think about the parish's budget when they're considering quitting their job or changing their career. They think about their own personal budget. And you can do something about both of those things.
Seeing no other public, oh, please come on up.
I'm Jeannie Wilson. I'm a distance learning facilitator, and I'm here to double check that I heard that you're going to raise our hourly to 25. Thank you very, very much. I've been doing this for 12 years, but I've been in the St. Tammany Parish system for 53. So my job mainly is, and with other facilitators, we rescue the students who have failed courses, and they take credit recovery, and we get them to walk across the stage and graduate. And I know that's an important thing. We were hoping for a little bit more in the hourly raise because of, I think other facilitators may be making a little bit more, but 25 is just such a welcome thing to hear. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jabbia, also for all your work. And I won't see any of that money because I happen to be on a timesheet, even though I have a master's and a plus 30. So when they say all employees, that's, look at you guys and think, lucky, lucky. But anyway, thank you.
Okay, no further public comment. We'll open it up to the board. Ms. Lammy?
First, I wanted to say hi to Ms. Jeannie. I met her when I was campaigning. I've talked with the previous superintendent trying to get a pay raise for you, and then again, and I am just so grateful that you're still here. I know the work you do. I know the students that you touch. I'm in awe of you, honestly, for as much as you've done for our parish, for the length of time you've done it, and even for being on a timesheet and making the little bit that you've made with the impact that you made is just mind-blowing. So it's really good to see you, and I just thank you so much for what you've done. It means a lot to me. And then the next thing I wanted to say was the mom that spoke. I feel like I could have been saying your words, because when I decided to run for school board, my number one reason was teachers. Even though I wanted our school system to be better, I wanted our students to be protected, it's teachers, because I was one. And I made the difficult decision of getting out of the classroom. And I wanted to be a voice for teachers, and I have tried very, very hard to be. And I'm not as good in the business savvy part. I'm more of the relational person. I think that's part of what made me a good educator. But it's so difficult when you have so many things to contend with. And we've had conversations about reworking the budget and finding things that we need to cut and get rid of and reform and figure it out, because we need our teachers and we're losing great teachers, and we need them in the classroom. We want them to be passionate and great. And so those comments are talked about through all of us. We know that something has to be done. We know this. So when something is said or presented and people really do get vicious, and I do understand that you're frustrated. I get it. I was frustrated too. And you have to make the decision that's best for you, no matter what it is. And you should advocate for what you think is right and what you need. I respect that. But I'm also going to say that the fact that we're voting or offering something doesn't mean that we don't feel exactly the way you feel. What happens if? What can we do to? They're getting more and more and more on their plate with less time to do it, and more hats and hoops to jump through. And we see all of those things. We are very grateful. And even though you don't see it because you don't feel like what we're doing today or next week is what needs to be done, I can speak for everybody on this board. Well, maybe not, but I think so. I think so. I mean, some people I don't talk to personally, like outside, but I still think I do. Every single one of us wants to retain our teachers. We want you to be happy. We want you to be able to pay your bills. We want you to come to school enthusiastic, ready to teach your kids, and feeling like you can pay your bills. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I feel like a lot of times it looks like, or people take it as, we don't think you deserve it. We don't want to give it to you. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Ms. Rufino Gallagher?
All right, usually at the beginning of board meetings, we get to talk about people if we want to say hi or whatever, and only because that lady said the Ohio State, will I say, go Braden Joubert from North Shore graduate who is playing in the World Series tonight. Go Braden. And we're going to hurry up so we can see the game. But a couple of things, I'm not going to be, the first couple of things, just bear with me when I say it so I can get to it. The two people stand in the back of the room are probably some of the lowest paid people as well. Those police officers and teachers don't get paid enough. So I get it, I do. But just as much as inflation has gone up for everybody else, it has gone up for me too. Do I want to work 2 jobs? No, but I do. I'm a single mom with 3 kids, so I totally understand. Do we go into the profession to be rich? Absolutely not. I've always wanted to be a teacher, just didn't work in my life, so I feel your pain. But in the same token, the amount of money that we can give, we are a public entity. We are based off tax dollars, tax revenue. People are gonna hate me because I'm guilty too, but all the online shopping we do, it affects us. Amazon affects us. We don't go to Target anymore. We don't go to Walmart anymore. It's little things like that that I know is minor, but a lot of that helps us. The current board up here, we did not set the budget that we are currently in at all. There is a new budget meeting coming up in August for us to try to set the budget for next year. It does not affect you right now, but know that, like Ms. Lamy said, there are things in the budget that we think are like low-hanging fruit that we don't need. So we are hoping, and I hope that you give this new board time. We just got elected. We've only been in office for 6 months. We are trying to get the budget to where we find the money that is being used on stuff that we don't think is as necessary as maybe the last board thought. We are trying to find ways. I used to work I work at the government now, but I used to work in the private sector, and my raise every year was the same as you're getting, $37 a paycheck. And I'm like, what in the heck am I supposed to do with that? But it was the public sector, and the private sector, and I wasn't getting any more than that. I have a couple of questions. Mr. Osborne, you don't have to stand up. You can sing this from right there. So the summer people, you're wanting $1,000 for the summer for the janitors or custodial workers on top of, you don't have to stand up because you don't have 2 minutes, on top of the 2 steps that we might be giving. Is that what you were saying? The summer school jobs. So $1,000 on top of the $1,000 permanent status. Okay. But including the 2, that's all I need to know. Hang on, you can talk about it later. The gentleman in the front, and I only asked this because you said you're a business owner. So for your employees, everybody's 17%, but are you raising your salary 17% because you play? I'm not being ugly. I'm just simply asking. It's not apples. It's kind of apples to oranges, but we can't give every time the 17% just because inflation went up 17%. You can answer. Okay. Michelle wants a job. Right. Okay. Oh, that's all I just wanted to ask. Yeah.
Have almost done.
Right. Okay. And like I said, right. And I get it. So I just am saying everybody is suffering right now. Unfortunately, everybody is. So, I was a single mom. I had to go find other jobs. Does everybody want to work a second job? Absolutely not. Everybody should goes to work 40 hours a week, should not have to work a second job, but it doesn't always work like that, unfortunately. And I was a 52-week employee. I know y'all get paid 52 weeks a year, but I had to work all of those days to get that $37 a week, a month, or a paycheck, whatever it was. So I get it. But again, like Tammy said, I just would appreciate when the budget comes in, we are trying to make those tough calls of things that we as this new board see as the low-hanging fruit to try to find extra money to give. It may not be what we could give today is what we could give today. But after that budget is set. So I'm going to tell you that I'm going to do everything I can to find some low-hanging fruit to be able to give you guys the money you deserve. Well, you'll never get the money you deserve because nor will the 2 in the back. But they still come to work every day doing their job, and they hope that at some point we can find the money to do that. So please trust us. I know that's a tough word, to try to do what we can in the next budget to find ways that we can cut things in order to help you guys get what you do close to what you deserve. It'll never be what you deserve. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson.
First of all, at the beginning, we usually acknowledge everyone, and I wanted to be able to acknowledge all the teachers and support employees out here. It's supposed to be your summer vacay, but you're probably doing other work, summer school, or other things like that, but I'm glad to see y'all are all here. As a former educator myself, who started in 1993, I look at a pay stub of mine from then and think, wow, I worked for that, but I loved what I do, and you do too. To one of the speakers had said, are we doing enough? Quite honestly, we could never do enough to really pay what our teachers and our support employees do. I know that. I have a son who's teaching now. I know that what they're called on to do is even more with even less. So I am full support of us doing what we can in order to get the additional steps to our teachers that will help with the state, if the state would have gone and done what they were supposed to do, but still we'll just do what we can. I just also want to say, I was a principal in 2011 when we had to make corrections as a result of over-promising in the previous 3 years. And as a result of it, no one was laid off, but we didn't fill positions based on attrition. Is that what it's called? Attrition. We just did with fewer employees. And it sometimes meant sharing a guidance counselor with another school or sharing a librarian with another school. And, you know, I don't want that to happen to us again, where we don't have the funds to appropriate, you know, it just made it harder on everybody else. Was that the same time also that we had to save money with substitutes by having different people
It
substitutes?
was during it
Yeah.
took like 4 years to
Okay.
recoup.
So there was a number of things that we're doing that stretched the limits of the staff as it was. Teachers, paras, everyone, it stretched everyone to so thin. I don't want us to get to there. I think we can come up with a happy medium, which is, let's get these 2 steps in, let's work on what we can do in the future as well. So that's what I'm hoping we'll be able to accomplish. Thank you.
Mr. Green?
Thank you. Ms. Prevost, we need some sort of salary schedule in place prior to July 1st. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
And if we approve that salary schedule and then come to an agreement, which it
I'll
seems like
have
we
to
made a
bring-
little sausage here and we have come to some sort of general person's agreement about that, we can make those changes post-July once approved and signed by the
Yes,
union.
we will just have to retro pay for 12 and 11-month people that start July
So
1st.
what I would
which
like
is
to
fine. We can do it.
propose is that this board approve this pay schedule as is, and then we come back in the 1st of July with the 2 steps. No? We have to have it done prior to that? Prior to July 1st?
We need to have it done, so we need to move. If Mr. Osborne will agree, and this motion, the motion that's on the floor gets done.
So we can do it tonight? I mean, if
We put it on the agenda, if this board puts it on the agenda, Mr. Green.
Yep. Can I say something? All right, the 2 steps is just rolling, the salary schedules are correct. We're rolling on these schedules, so they're correct. So you're approving those. We can roll steps if we get an agreement before July 1st. We can go ahead and do that. The thing we'd have to bring back is to put the stipends back in. That's already been approved. It's just a formality. So put it back and bring a schedule back, so we could do that any time in July.
Because those would not be granted till later on in October.
They're not granted till
Till
October.
October, so we got
Okay.
time for that.
Yes. And
So if this board rejects the salary schedule,
No.
the
Talking
motion
about
currently, then,
teachers.
and Ms. Fauntleroy, we amend the agenda to include those 2 steps, we can do that tonight.
We need to vote on this board needs to vote on the salary schedule as it is on the agenda. And then Ms. Fauntleroy can make her motion and President Broke can move from there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, seconded, it's been fully discussed. We will now vote on the motion, and that's to accept the salary schedule as is. What happened to my mouse? As presented. And that motion carries unanimously. Now, I understand there may be a motion, Ms. Fauntleroy?
Is it my turn? Okay. Well, Mr.
Add it to the agenda.
I just thought I had a headache when I came. Okay, my head is spinning right now. Okay, Mr. Bro, I would like to add an item to the agenda that we consider everything that
The
Mr.
MOU
Jabby, the
plus the-
MOU plus
plus
making
the
a
making-
permanent second, making the stipend permanent, what, $500 stipend permanent as a second step.
Or 350, 500.
Or 350, right. Instead of a
steps
stipend, move it
permanent instead
to
of-
a permanent,
Do
yeah,
I-
two
do-
permanent steps.
Do I have a second?
This is
All
just
right.
to add it to the agenda.
It has to be unanimous.
Ms. McComb is seconding it, but go ahead and add it.
I have to add it to
Miss-
the agenda
No.
and then refresh the computer so y'all can vote on it.
Hold on. Hold on. Mr. Harrison,
Okay.
can you please inform the board of what's got to happen to do that, to make that happen, please?
Yes.
Because I know it's something we got to do.
So under open meetings law, to add an item to the agenda, you must first create the phraseology that you, in your motion, and then you have to unanimously vote to add it to the agenda. Then it's officially on the agenda as if you had advertised it prior to the meeting. Then you've got to allow board comment on it, and then public comment on it, and then you can vote on it.
Hold on one second. We're getting there.
I have added it. The motion to
The
add.
motion to add it to the agenda is what we will vote on or discuss first,
Correct.
So just give me 1 second.
and she's entering that motion.
Motion by Kalinda, and who made the second?
McComb.
Okay.
Okay, public comment on on adding an item to the agenda. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none. Board comment. Ms. Rufino Gallagher.
So I just want to be clear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What?
Mr. Kuzan.
Oh.
Mr. Kuzan, you were first.
Look at you.
You did. And why does it have you over there?
No, that's me here.
That was for the last.
Okay, so
Okay, I have a comment. I have a problem with this because I was contacted by several people asking to move the meeting to 6 o'clock. I was reluctant to do so because the pay raise was not on the agenda. The MOU was not on the agenda. And so consequently, since all we were doing was this one motion, I refused to move the meeting to 6 o'clock because that was not a topic we wanted to discuss. So that's my problem. And I will probably vote against it. If I'm the only one that votes against it, I will reconsider. Okay, any other comments? Mr. Rufino Gallo.
So I just want to be clear. So it's the 2 steps permanent and everything that Mr. Osborne just read a second ago.
All we're doing is voting to put it on the agenda.
I know, but I'm making sure I know what I'm putting on the agenda. So I'm putting on the agenda the MOU that he read a few minutes ago with all that information and to make the step permanent. So it's 2 permanent steps in his MOU that he outlined when he stood up there earlier. Is that correct? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Mr. Green.
Despite it not being currently on the agenda, I just have a feeling, gauging the pulse of the room, that we're going to approve this and be back here to this point. So I would just encourage everybody to vote affirmatively.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Ms. Hurstis.
Well, I was pretty much going to say the same thing because I was one of the people that complained for it being at 3 o'clock because I didn't think it was a good time to have it during the day because people weren't available. So is this a good time to put this on the agenda as of right now? Okay, thank you. I'm no longer complaining about the time.
I would like to say that I see the attendance here, and I know a lot of people would be happy to get this off the books. But we have people who are not here, perhaps, because we did it at 3 o'clock, and that is my concern. This item was not on the agenda at 3 o'clock. Ms. Fauntleroy.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I think it's a very good point. I have received a lot of emails this week, so, I mean, I think most people have weighed in, on the issue. And I don't even know if this is allowable, but I do know Mr. Osborne represents the employees, and I would just like your input on adding this to the agenda today.
I strongly advise it.
Mr. Cruzan.
I think we have enough representation here today, and all the emails that I've received have been positive for this, so I think we should go ahead on and vote. Hey, that's the first time I got it.
All right, would everyone please vote?
You're just voting to add it?
This is only to add it to the agenda. I feel bullied. It passed unanimously. Okay, so now we will discuss what's on the agenda, which is
Acceptance of the MOU with 2 permanent steps and other items as previously discussed.
She said it. Did everyone hear that?
Why don't you say it on the mic, Christie?
It's pretty much accept what the MOU, with the exception that we will make the stipend 500 a permanent stipend or permanent pay raise, so there would be 2-step increases for all employees. And I take it the Federation does not have to vote on this? Or you can,
We've done it before where we had an unsigned MOU. We're all agreeing, so you'll vote it in, and then Frank and I will take care of the signatures, so that part, but we're all agreeing here, so it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a motion. Ms. Fauntleroy, you're making that motion. Is it seconded? Ms. Hampson seconded it. Okay, so we will now invite public comment. Seeing no, Ms. Barrios.
So this appears to be working out well for the employees, and I, of course, like that. However, I just want to point out that under open meetings law, although public bodies are allowed to add an agenda item, it cannot be for the purpose of avoiding public input or quick decisions or anything like that. And you actually, Mr. Green, actually stated a case for that the meeting would have been better at 6 o'clock, more input. This is a quick, very important decision. So I just want to point that out, that I don't believe you're adding this to the agenda. follows open meetings law.
Thank you. Mr. Harrison.
That is a legal point, and I would like to say, as a general rule of thumb, Ms. Barrios is correct. You do not add items to an agenda for purposes of circumventing the open meetings law. However, this is a public entity tasked with an extremely difficult task of finding a way to agree with a federation with no rules on bargaining and a questionable language in a collective bargaining agreement. This happened last year, and it's happening again, because prior to today, there was no agreement. So we have adapted as a board very professionally, very in compliance with state law, and absolutely it took a unanimous vote that was even debated. So you did it perfect, frankly. It's not a violation of the open meetings law.
Any other public comment?
Barbara
Yes.
Sharp, bus driver. I appreciate the interaction between the board and the administration and public and the employees. The board has listened to the public and the employees. Thanks. What this shows is that the commitment to employees by St. Tammany Parish School Board has to change. Stipends are not money that a person can rely on to pay ongoing expenses with today's inflation. We see the constant exodus of school employees without permanent increases and improvement in the working environment, which is also made more difficult by this exodus. Our school system will also continue to decline. I appreciate the work that was done here today. And as an answer to your question or your statement earlier about us being paid for 12 months, it's our 177 days that are divided over. Okay, we're not paid for 12 months. Thank you very much.
I believe I saw someone else who wanted to comment from the public. Please step up, state your name.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Dr. Brian Marks. I'm a science and social studies teacher at Fontainebleau Senior High School. I'm strongly in favor of a two-step promotion for all of us who work very hard to educate the children of St. Tammany Parish. Likewise, although I'm not a para or a support person or work in the cafeteria or drive a school bus or anything else, we couldn't do our jobs in the classroom without all those people. So I'm very appreciative, very supportive of all of our support people who always, unfortunately, seem to get the short end of the stick, and they do an excellent job at Fontainebleau High School. So I want to say that, just because I am a social studies and science teacher, I wanted to address the economics questions that came up very briefly. Private and public sector median wages in America since this slug of inflation has gone through our economy since COVID, it's about keeping up with inflation. And as has been said by others, the CPI rate, which is roughly speaking what you and I pay for all the things that we live on, has been slightly shy of about 20% since 2020. Overall, wages have been within a few percentage points of that. Public sector, private sector, all across the country. If we take the 4.5% increase that we got last year, just what I recall from reading the newspaper, and if I'm understanding what the state is getting to us, the stipend, $2,000, and $1,000, feel free to correct my arithmetic on this, that's $3,000. And we heard earlier that $58,000 median or average salary, if you do the arithmetic on that, you get approximately 5%, which in the last 12 months or so is about where the CPI has been. That's not a raise in real wages, but that is treading water. And I'd rather tread water than drown. So no, we're not really where we are in the past 3 years relative to the quote unquote real world, but this is a good step forward. Thank you.
I see no more comments from the public, comments from the board. Seeing none, let's please vote. The motion passes unanimously. At this point, we've been at this meeting for an hour and 45 minutes. I would like a short recess. They're coming, they're coming.
Ms. Hurst is running.
We're almost ready. Missing a couple of board members? Ms. Harrell? Mr. Harrell? Okay, second item on the agenda, consideration of extension of the superintendent's contract. Do I have a motion? Mr. Green? Second, Mr. Harrell. All right. It was in the board docs, the amendment to his contract. Basically, it's an extension of 2 years, 8 months from when it was supposed to expire, November of next year. So I will now, we have a motion and a second. I will now entertain comments from the public. Going once. Ms. Barrios. Ms. Yeah, would you go first since, Ms. Barrios, would you kind of move up so that?
Having looked online at what was posted on board docs, there's some language in the original contract that dealt with COVID. Is that still relevant? Is that something that you guys could, I know.
I will partially address that in a minute.
Okay, all right. That's, the only other question I had was why? Why now? I mean, this contract's not up until, quite a while from now. So I'm kind of wondering why it needs to be addressed now. That's all I got.
Ms. Barrios.
We all understand that every new job carries with it a learning curve. In my 60 years of adult working life, I've had such a variety of jobs and so many different employers that it was dizzying. By far, the biggest curve came at the age of 45, with plenty of working years and experience behind me when I walked into the classroom the first day of class as a teacher. But here are the differences between a new teacher and a new superintendent. There's no 2, 3, or 4-year contract for teachers. I think the only school district employee with a contract is the superintendent. Teachers have almost no job security. For the entirety of their careers, teachers walk into their classrooms alone with the sole professional, moral, physical, and legal responsibility for as many as 135 students a day and accountability to double that with the number of parents. They don't have fancy offices, secretaries, various levels of administrative and clerical help under them, no legal counsel or even mentors, budgets, or necessary funding for their classroom needs. There's nobody to blame when they screw up, but they are held accountable for it. The superintendent can make numerous poor decisions and missteps, but that seems to be treated as water under the bridge. It's expected that teachers sought out and received the training they needed so they can get off the starting block running. They keep up every day with new curriculum, new policies, new statutes, mandates, and the individual needs of every single child they teach. The axiom, every child, every day, does not apply beyond the classroom, really. Accountability for teachers is embedded in everything they do and say, with their primary evaluation based on a single standardized test score. The teacher has no control over the test takers' lives when they leave the classroom or to the contents of the LEAP test or its grading. Teachers may have more experience and higher degrees than the superintendent, but their salaries get nowhere near reflecting that. Their salaries aren't individually negotiated with the school board and don't have extensive add-ons like car allowances and per diem, whatever that is. Why would the school board believe it's prudent, fair, or appropriate to extend a 4-year contract a year before that contract is fulfilled? Thank you.
Any other comments? Ms. Sharp, if you could come up, maybe sit right here.
I've worked under Mr. Jabbia. Like I said a while ago, I've got 53 years in the system. I don't know of a person that cares more about education completely with everybody from the very top all the way down. He loves kids, he loves education, he has poured his heart into it and his soul into it. And he has to deal with a whole, public. He has to deal with so many more things than, we in the classroom. And I'm not speaking out against the teachers, but his job involves so much more. And yeah, as far as I know, he's done a good job so far, so why not?
Ms. Sharp?
My main question would be, how as new board members are you making this decision and why is it necessary now? There's not that much time that you've been with him, and any evaluation you're doing is based on a short period of time. Why is it necessary and why can't it wait for another year?
Do you have any other comments from the public? Mr. Osborne?
Thank you, Board. I'll just say, Superintendent Jabby and I are both men of passion. We collide sometimes and there's tension and it looks messy, but typically in the aftermath, something good comes out of it. In all the time in the job, I haven't seen that passion diminish. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Come on up.
Robert Broom from Slidell, and I had the same thought that other people did about why now. And I don't speak for the board, of course, but I think that the board deserves a compliment here for doing this now. You are a new board. You're taking on responsibility. You're not going to be sitting here with contracts negotiated by previous boards. This is now yours. Congratulations for stepping up. You may regret it at some point, but at least you're taking responsibility. So now that I've thought about it a bit, I think it's a good idea to get this done. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? We'll now entertain comments from the board, and we're going to start with Ms. Moore.
Microphone on. Isabel Moore. In paragraph number 3, that we give, is that the one, compensation annually for any unused leave accumulated throughout that fiscal year. I still agree 100% that everyone needs to take time off to recharge, as they say, their batteries. Teachers do not get paid for any time that they have extra days left over. You get paid if you retire, I think, 25 days. I just have an issue with paying for unused accumulated leave each year. I feel like you need to use it. I know, or it could be accumulated and used as a lump sum, but I have a real problem with paying for unused vacation days or annual leave days. Thank you.
Ms. Hurstis?
Well, I'm going to come right out the gates and be the bad guy on the board. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Tammy. No, it's not new. I don't see the reason in doing this right now, absolutely 100% period. From what I understand, according to policy, it's supposed to be 3 months prior from the date of the expiration of this. You know, we want our teachers and we want our administrators to do things according to policy, yet we're not going to do it ourselves. Do as I say, not as I do. You know, we've already done that before. So I don't see a reason to renew a contract on, and this is not, has nothing to do with his job performance. We just did an evaluation, and I put 6 across the board because I can't evaluate somebody that I don't even know. I just, you know, Frank, I think you're a great guy. You're always positive. You know, you're always giving high fives and stuff, but I don't really know your job ability because I see you maybe twice a month. So how can I renew a contract based on that? I'd like to work with you a little bit more than that. So how can I renew a contract on that? You know, and to renew a contract to June of 2027? Like, really? I can't foresee doing that. I don't know you. I can't do that. And from what I understand, I wasn't at the meeting. Unfortunately, from what I understand, it wasn't our idea to renew this contract. I mean, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I don't think it was the board's idea to renew this contract at this time. So I would like to make a motion to table this until August of 2024.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Moore. So I just wanted to add for public knowledge, 6 on evaluation means unable to evaluate. It's not an evaluation. So we have a motion, and it's been seconded to table this until
August of 2024, which would be 3 months prior to November 2024 expiration.
Right.
Until what? August 2024.
August 2024. So the motion to table is not debatable, but I believe from previous experience, we have to open it up to the public. So do I have any comments from the public? Seeing none. No, don't re-clear it yet. Let's vote on the motion to table until August. August of 2024. So we're voting on a motion to table. Has everyone voted? No. Who are missing? Ms. Rutherford. You're thinking about it? What's the motion fails, 4 yeas, 11 nays. So we will continue with the list that's discussing the original motion.
Obviously, nobody looks what y'all's constituents want.
Oh, yeah, I did a survey. I'm doing exactly what my constituents want.
Oh, really? So they want to do it?
Coming up.
Okay. That's not what they emailed me.
Yep, and that wasn't the constituents.
I'm trying.
That was the general public. That was the people in the union that he got to email us.
Oh,
Wasn't your
okay.
constituents.
Can I see the poll results?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
You can just call it out. I don't know why it's not populating. Miss Rutherford, Miss Moore, Miss Hurstis, and Miss Rufino Gallagher voted yay. Everyone else voted nay.
Okay, we will now continue with the discussion, and next up to discuss the motion to accept the extension to the contract. Ms. Baker.
Well, I'm very much, am I good? I'm very much in support of extending his contract, and here's why. When we did his evaluation, it was, I talked to my schools, I talked to some teachers, I talked to people in my community, and it is clear that he is doing an excellent job. The results of everyone on this board, his evaluation was real, it was honest. We went over his plans, his future plans, what he has done so far, and it is excellent. When we got Mr. Jabbia, I believe it is, I was not part of the board who hired him, but when we got him, it was significantly less than what other superintendents were making in this parish. So when he comes up and we discussed his evaluation and how it ended up, I want to be clear that Mr. Jabbia has not, anytime a teacher got a stipend, anytime, whether it was COVID or whether it was extended access funds or whether it was given by the state or the feds or whoever, Mr. Jabbia didn't get a dime. So he got nothing that you all got. I'm sorry, is it my turn? So when we asked him what we could do, because there is no money right now to offer him a raise, we asked him, what can we do for you? In showing that you've gotten a good evaluation, here's what people are saying, here's what we're saying, here's the results of your evaluation, here's what's good, here's what's not good. And the one thing he did ask was for a contract extension. No money, no nothing. And it is, as a board representing District 9, it is my pleasure to extend his contract, and I will vote affirmatively.
Ms. Lamy.
Hey, okay, so I just wanted to say, when someone asked why now, I think a big part of the reason was, as Ms. Baker said, we weren't in a financial position to offer any more money based on his performance or to catch up to what the previous person did. And this was a way of showing the support, showing that we think that he's doing a good job, giving him the time to continue to grow as a superintendent. If there's areas that, obviously we all need to grow, hopefully you teachers are doing the same. That's what we try to do. And so it was a way of showing the support. Also, we can fire the superintendent at any point that he's not doing his job. And that just takes a board vote. So extending the contract doesn't guarantee anyone a job. It just says that we think that you're doing a good job. We are supporting you. We think that you're the person that should be in this position. And we based a lot of that on the evaluation that we had the other night. So that was one reason for now. As far as the vacation days, I personally think that that's something that should come off right now because of the financial situation that we're in at the moment, and because I desperately feel that Superintendent Jabbia needs to take days off. He works 365 days a week, whether you believe it or not, and a year, not a week, and all day and night. And anyone who works with him or anyone who's close to him knows that. So many of you don't see what he actually does, or just like about the vehicle comments and stuff like that, like where he is at all times. It's a whole lot. And so I think it's easy to, take your frustrations out on the wrong sources. But having been an employee as a teacher and working under other superintendents, and then as a board member under other superintendents, and then going to all of the national and local conventions and speaking to other board members who have different superintendents, I know what we have in Mr. Jabbia. Whether you agree or not, I feel very strongly that way. I did put out a survey, and I ended up looking at my constituency. The overall, I look at that. It was about even. But on my constituency, it was way, like 62% yes. So I am going to take that into my, I'm supposed to represent my constituents, not just the loudest people, not just the people who have an issue, but unfortunately, I can't get to everybody, but I need to represent the people that voted me in to represent them. So I just wanted to say that, but also, the reason for not, my interpretation would be if it's somebody who you feel is not doing a good job, someone that you feel like is not open to be coachable or to grow or to listen to the board, like, to me, those are reasons that you would not want to support someone to come back. If it's somebody who's going to listen, then it's not just on Superintendent Jabbia, it's on this board. Because we can go to him and he can either do the things that we're asking or talk to us about it, or he cannot. And if he doesn't, then guess what? We have the right to fire him. So it's not just on Superintendent Jabbia's shoulders, it's on our shoulders, because he listens to us. He takes into consideration what we say. To me, there's not a better type of person to be in that job. Someone who is 100% dedicated to our students, our teachers, our community, and is willing to grow himself. He doesn't think he knows it all. He's new in this position. But I promise you, when people come from outside and try to change things that don't fit the community, or previous superintendents who wouldn't even listen to what you have to say, and I'm not talking about just being on the board, I'm talking about since I've been a teacher, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what we have, and I think that that's something that we as a board need to remember, because you need to be careful what you ask for or think. That's just my thoughts. Anyway, thanks. Thanks for the little applause. There, Miss Jeannie, you so sweet.
Mr. Kuzan.
Thank you very much. As a board member, I have goals. And I probably have been around here through maybe 5 or 6 superintendents. And my goals coincide with Mr. Jabbia's goals. And I can tell you, from my standpoint, of all the superintendents I've worked with, I've never seen a superintendent work as hard as he. Where was Mr. Jabbia this morning? Where were you this morning, Mr. Jabbia? Lafayette. In Lafayette. Drove from Lafayette to get here for this meeting. That's the kind of person we have. He has goals, and he's concerned about the whole educational system. Do you think that any other superintendent would be sitting here and negotiating when it's not time to even consider a teacher pay raise at this time? This is because Mr. Jabbia has asked us to do it, okay? My goals coincide with his goals, and I want him around here as long as I'm here. And I can tell you, if I can make this term, I won't be here after this time. But I can tell you what, you better try to keep him as long as you can, because I've known other systems during my tenure that have done just the opposite and have changed superintendents, and their rating has gone, well, we're not going to talk about that, but way down, all right? So I just want to say I'm supporting this motion wholeheartedly.
Ms. Hanson.
Okay, just in terms of our evaluation system, we looked at, each one of us individually evaluated the superintendent and then we looked collectively at how each other had evaluated. And overall, there were more positive things than negative things. So would you extend a contract if there were more negatives? No, you wouldn't. It did, someone asked why, and this was my why as to why I felt like the extension was necessary. One, given the timing of it, I don't want us to be starting a new school year in August of 2024, having to also negotiate the leader's contract. And that's a very, negotiations, I've never been involved in a lot of it. I was on the other end of it as a educator, but, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it. I don't want us to be doing that at the same time opening up another school year. So that was one of my rationales behind it. Secondly, we have locked in a salary for him at the 2020 cost, and that's not to his benefit, that's to our benefit. And so that was consideration. Also look at it and know as somebody that was an organizational leader as a high school principal, that when you walk in, it's not like just changing the rugs and changing the curtains and look, I'm changing the school, I'm changing things. You have to change things from a cultural level, you have to change things inside and out, and that doesn't happen overnight, especially when you walk in November of 2020. And I don't think I need to go back in time to revisit what was happening in over 2020. The first actual school year, if I'm correct, that everything opened up normal is this school year. Prior to that, we had governor mandates, we had this, that, So I feel like it wouldn't do our school system good to not have that extended contract so we know he can continue working on the initiatives that he's probably just now being able to get down into now that COVID is kind of behind us, knock on wood. So that's why I felt like the extension was necessary to ensure that we can continue to make momentum forward and to continue to have the same leader at the helm, knowing good and well also, and I can tell you this, I've been in Mr. Javi's office several times and I've called him, it didn't matter any time, and he has answered my calls, and I've expressed concerns I've had, and he knows, I don't hold back, and he knows I know this community well, and he listens. And so therefore, I felt like it was in the best interest of this board, the best interest for him as a school leader, and the best interest in our school system for us to extend the contract and continue working to move forward. So that's why I will have to support this motion. Thank you.
Ms. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Bro. Most of what I would say has already been said. My goals, like Mr. Kuzin's goals, match Mr. Javia's goals. I would say to you, before I became principal of a high school, I had a principal that sat across from me and said, you never know what goes into this job until you sit in this chair. You never know what goes into that job until you sit in his chair. And none of us know that except him at this point in time. I can tell you that I too have been in his office, shared every situation that my constituents shared with me while I was on the campaign trail. Some of those things have already been addressed and are being addressed. Everything I have asked of him since I've been in this position, since January, he has attempted to do or in the process of doing. He has listened. I can tell you, as Mr. Kuzan has said, that he is the most visible and approachable superintendent that I have ever worked with, and I've been involved in schools since 1974. Not this school system, but I was in Mississippi for 14 years, and I've been in this school system since 1989. So yes, I have had a lot of different superintendents that I have worked for. And this one had, and I'm not just talking about visible, I'm talking about visible in the schools, in the classrooms, in the community, at leader prayer forums, where we've prayed for our teachers and all of our employees and our state legislators and our police force, our whole community government system. And
as Ms. Hanson has said and Ms. Baker has said as part of the evaluation, I feel that we need to have consistency in order for us to bring our district performance scores up, because all of us are concerned about that, as you are. And those are the reasons that I also will support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Ms. Fauntleroy.
Okay, I'm going to breeze through some of the things that have already been said, but I do want to reiterate, I do think this is a smart financial move because he is committing to a contract that doesn't involve a raise. He's committing through 2027 to not taking a raise. I agree with that point. I will say, like Ms. McCullum, I've worked for 4 superintendents. I was at the administrative level for 18 years. I had 3 of those superintendents I saw once or twice for photo opportunities. Within the first week of him taking the job, he was at my school to go around, meet my teachers, and sit in my office for an hour asking me what my school needed, what would make it better. When I was elected, I asked to meet with him. I did the same thing, went over my list of concerns, and he is actively addressing them. We share a lot of the same concerns. Working conditions, that's one of my biggest concerns. We're working on those things. He's actively working on those. We can't do everything overnight, but he cares and he is trying to help with that. Like Ms. Lamey said, if everything goes south, we review this annually. We don't have to, we can fire him at any point. So there's no harm in this. It's just a vote of confidence that I believe in what he has done and what he is going to continue to do. It's unfortunate that these 2 things got on the agenda the same day when teachers are upset about pay, and that's just an unfortunate reality. But there is something I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison, I want to put you on the spot because I remember reading something about when, and I know there are dates involved with when we can do superintendent's contracts as a board, as a new board. And I know Mr. Foltz left within a term unexpectedly in the middle of a contract, and I know that got our dates off. So does any of that go into this as a factor?
Okay, so very briefly, your underlying statutory authority for renewing superintendent contracts is 17:54. In 1998, they amended it to give schools the ability to have institutional knowledge and have the superintendent's contract go beyond the term of the board that is kind of renewing his contract or voting for his contract. Did you follow that part? Okay, because prior to 1988, the superintendent was like tied to the board that was doing his contract. You see, what the superintendent's doing is actually aligning his contract with the new board. So part of the reason for the why is very much his commitment to you all. And what happened, what you're referring to, is when Mr. Foltz, I believe in 2020, stepped up to the state level, what happened was his contract wasn't over. And the old board, if you will, had to first put in an interim superintendent. Then they had to go through the actual hiring process, wherein the older board that's no longer impaneled agreed to hire Mr. Javia. And that shifted the term, if you will, by about 2 years. So that's all that is relevant to the question why. It would have been done anyways, but if the old board and the old superintendent had stayed on that 4-year path, it would have kind of been done right about now, where all school systems generally don't want the superintendent rolling off at the same time the board is going through elections. That creates a chaotic situation for the system. That's why they amended it in 1998, that a superintendent's contract can go 2 years beyond the term of the board that is voting or having him do a contract. Does that make sense? So this is a brand new board. So in fairness, this brand new board, whether you count the date of January 2023, when you took the office, you could extend his contract, this board could extend his contract to essentially January of 26 years, so 9. Are we clear? Okay, thank you. I hope that answered your question. But that's the date issue is the connection between the old and the new board. That's all it is.
Okay.
Oh, I'm up. Okay, first of all, on the leave, payment for the leave. I know Mr. Javia works very hard all the time. He's reachable 24/7. I can call him up on Saturday morning or late at night. He's there. I encourage you to take as much leave as you can. You need it for your health. He's taking off next week, and this is going to be like a trial balloon. We're going to see how we can survive without him. I urge everyone not to contact him next week. And I urge you to take off as much leave as you possibly can. Secondly, why do we want to extend? When Mr. Javia came in, he has a bunch of initiatives. This year, he launched a whole mess of new initiatives. There's a lot going on. We have a lot of irons in the fire. I've been looking at the data. You know, Mr. Javia and I don't agree on a lot of things. But when I look at the data, I'm seeing some positive trends. I don't have enough sufficient data to say he's doing a tremendous job or not. I need to give him more time. He needs more time to see if these initiatives take hold and do provide the results that we need. He cannot do it between now and next November. He'll need more time. It takes years for some of these things to play. You know, the curriculums are going to be with us 12 years. I mean, you introduce a curriculum now, you're going to see the results when they graduate. You know, in kindergarten, you do something in kindergarten, you may not see the full effect until they're graduating senior. So these things take time. I don't think it should take 12 years, but it's going to take more than the 2 or 3 that we've given him so far. So I need more time to evaluate the data, see the trends, and see where we're going. With the 2-year, 8-month extension, everybody on the board will still have an opportunity to renew the contract before we leave. I mean, it's still going to be this board at the end of 27 or in June of 27, we'll still have an opportunity to reevaluate or renegotiate the contract before he leaves, before we leave. One of the people asked about Section C of the contract, and there was a third item added to the amendments to its contract yesterday. And basically, we as a board will be coming up with new evaluation objectives this year, and we will be able to evaluate them based on objectives and goals that may change annually. So, you know, even though COVID is outdated, we will have an opportunity to add new objectives and tasks in there and do an evaluation. And we plan on doing that next month. So for those reasons, I'm supporting the extension of the contract. Ms. Hurstis, because everyone has not spoken yet, we're gonna move on to Dr. Peterson. You will have an opportunity.
Yes. First of all, I'd just like to say that Mr. Javia, I had the pleasure of being his boss for a few years at North Shore High School. I hired him as an assistant principal many years ago and as a head football coach. And I watched him grow and he flourished. And then I got to be a community member and look from the side that you're on as a parent, and watch the superintendent do a pretty good job during some very difficult times. And I don't think there's anyone here who would not agree that we've had some very difficult times. But he weathered those with you, not against you, but with you and with our community. And I'm so proud of the job that has been done, so that someone mentioned earlier, we started the year as we should. On time, everybody showed up for work, and the kids were here, and the job got done. We had a great and a full year this year. And the enthusiasm and the presence that I saw in this gentleman the few months since I've been on this board, I was impressed with. And I got to say this, you know, sometimes you need not only great expectations from a board, but you need appreciation and you need affirmation. And so I think this contract, which aligns his term with our terms as a new board, is necessary. And I also believe that he needs the affirmation that we know we can get this job done. He's working for you, he's working for your students, your children, and he's working for us. And I know that he is tireless in his effort, and I have great expectations for him and for St. Tammany Parish. And, you know, most superintendents nationwide only last 1 to 3 years, and they're gone. That is a very common practice. And you got somebody who's working hard and wants to be here. And I'm telling you, coming out of 2 years of COVID in St. Tammany Parish, I might have my druthers about where I want to be and what I want to do. And this man says, you know, we've been through all these tough times, and would you extend my contract? You don't have to pay me more. Just give me the opportunity. I think he wants to do a job that he has a vision for, and he needs us to help steer that vision with him. And I think some great things are ahead of this parish. And I don't want to do anything that would deter that. So I would just encourage this board to not only give the affirmation, but I would also encourage Mr. Jabbia to view that affirmation as a great expectation. Thank you.
Rufino Gallagher.
Okay, I'm not going to be the person the most everybody likes. So, here I'm going to go. It's only been 5 months. As most of the people up here have spoken, have worked under Mr. Jabbia at some point in their career, whether it's a teacher, an educator, previous board member, or whatever. For me, and I'm only speaking for me, it's been, you speak for yourself. It's only been 5 months for me. There's been some, yes, Mr. Jabbia has done some good work. I'm not saying he hasn't. But the toughest job that we're about to face with Mr. Jabbia is agreeing on a budget, which we have yet to do with him. I do not know how easy that's going to be with Mr. Jabbia or with this entire board. I have absolutely no idea. So I have a few questions of those of you who have been here longer. Because I did not go to public school in St. Tammany Parish. I have kids in St. Tammany Parish. But has this occurred before? Has a superintendent asked for an extension? And if so, was it how far, like, what was the circumstance? I don't know. Can anybody, does anybody know?
Mr. Kuzan, do you know of any?
Anybody?
Well, no.
It didn't happen in any of our terms.
Okay.
Mr. Kuzan, maybe.
The only thing I can say is situations call for different responses and different things. Comparing the boards that I've been on with this board would be unfair, okay? Because I haven't worked with this board long enough. I can only give you the advice that I've had of working with other boards and working with Mr. Jabbia and making comparative analysis of that, okay? So regardless of what has been done once or twice before, I don't think is relevant because the situation at hand is what we're dealing with now. Thank you very much.
Okay, we can disagree and I can still sit next to you and be okay with that. I was just curious as to reason why, because I'll skip some stuff, but everybody up here has said initiatives and he needs more time. And Mr. Jabbia obviously wants to stay, so I just don't understand why we have to do it now. Because some of the things that have been said by other board members are that he's got the momentum going, he's got this, he's got that, and we want to see it continue. So does this board think he will not continue to do all that if we don't renew his contract? Because that is what you're saying. And what I'm listening to is you're saying if we don't renew this contract, Mr. Jabbia is not going to continue doing what he's doing. But wait, hold on. I'm not really asking, it's rhetorical. I'm just well, because I was just looking at you. Okay. And we're reading the contract, there's like, he has the option to renew or he has the option to step down. So I'm wondering, do we not think he's going to renew? Is that why we're trying to push this? Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't need him to answer either. It's rhetorical. I know. It's rhetorical. Hold on. I've got more. So we have not even set new goals or new, there's another word too, I didn't write it down, for him. So for us, what if we can't agree to those goals, or what if we're not aligned with everything? I think there's a lot that's gonna go into this that we have not had the chance to. Some of the people who have worked with him before, they have, I have not. So I'm speaking for myself. I've never worked, haven't worked for him. Please do not take this the wrong way, anyone. But the contract for him also, he is the one who hires his staff. Our board has had some issues and conflicts with some staff, so that has to be taken into consideration. We have not always we don't see eye to eye on stuff, and I don't know that, we can't tell him who to hire and who to fire, obviously, but there's gotta be more of a connectivity, in my opinion, for that. So I think as a new board member of me, only being here for 5 months, I cannot support the extension right now because I haven't been through some of the toughest times. And I need to see those, and we need to figure out when this budget comes, because I just told these people that I know that there's some low-hanging fruit in my opinion. Well, if he and I don't agree on that low-hanging fruit and it doesn't happen, then I don't know that I can fairly say to them that I did what you see what I'm saying? So as much as I know that Frank has done a good job, or Mr. Jabbia, sorry, has done a good job, at this point in where I sit, I cannot say that we can do this contract right now. Sorry.
Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, President Bro. I was the only one on this board that actually sat down and negotiated the contract with Superintendent Jabbia. And I can say when we did it, it was not a quick process. I mean, we probably met once a week for 4 or 5 weeks. We went through great detail of the previous superintendent's contract. We looked at other districts, other parishes, I'm sorry. We looked at what they had to offer, what they were offering, and we made extremely, I think it was competitive, but we got Superintendent Jabbia at a very good value compared to the neighboring parishes. And at that time, we just kind of frankly told them, we just kind of told them, said, look, it's a difficult time. We really, we want to see what you can do. Let's give it some time. Let's show us what you got. And, we'll revisit it. We knew we had a new board coming. Once we get to the new board, we'll discuss an extension and raises and all that stuff. So while we had them at a discount, that's what it was. We got them at a fair market price. And when we talked about this, and this originally came up with an extension, said, I don't think the economy's there where we can actually offer you a raise. I know we talked about it 3 years ago, but we can't do it. I don't think the community will support it. And he was 100% behind it. He says, look, I'm fine with not getting a raise. Just, if y'all will extend my contract, I can focus on the work that needs to be done. And that's what we want him to do. Quit worrying about work. We've got his back. He can focus on what needs to be done. So that's all I have to say about that. The other things, I know comments have made about, there's more qualified people. in this parish, there's probably less than 10 people that are actually qualified to do the superintendent's job. That is a certificated position, and there's less than 10. I don't know, there's not that many more that could possibly do it. When it came to small details like the car allowance, we looked at, all the options, what are our options, and that's what we determined would be the safest, most economical option for the parish, was to give him a car allowance and that be it. Not give him a vehicle, not give him a gas card and all that, just straight out let him have the car allowance. So I just want to say, I apologize, Mr. Javier, for hoping I can get you a raise in 3 years once you proved yourself. I think you did prove yourself. We just can't do it at this time. But I hope you get the extension and get back to work. Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. So one thing I do want to acknowledge is this meeting, this cannot be easy for you, Superintendent Javier, to sit here. So I just want to say it's going to be okay. You're doing a good job. It's all right. It is true what they've said. He always responds and listens to us. He cares tremendously about this district, and he does work very, very hard. I was not at the last meeting when we had an executive session, although I have seen all of his overall evaluation. I did miss the comments, so I do have some questions that I hope can be clarified. So I heard earlier that we're getting him, we got him at a discount, et cetera, that we're locking in his contract at his current salary. Where does it say that? Where does it say that he cannot ask for a raise? I don't see anything that states that his base salary stays the same aside from the 1% experience pay increase if the teachers get a step.
I would have to ask for that raise.
Right, you would have,
I
but
would
you
have to
can
ask,
ask for
and
that,
You
right?
guys would have to come before this committee and
And you can
do
ask
it.
for that anytime, right? Because, right, we don't owe him one. But the comment was made earlier, I think by Ms. Hanson, that his salary, we're locking in his salary, and that would be a benefit for us.
We're still getting the 2020 price that we paid. The agreement just extending from 3 years to a couple more years.
Does his salary automatically go up?
His evaluations are good.
Yeah, you get, well, performance
Please, let's try to stay on
Okay.
track here.
So then I guess that
Keep the
comment just doesn't make
discussions
sense to me
down,
then. Let's see, about the two things that are being considered as the amendments to his contract. Those are because we think in good faith we can offer those two things because we cannot offer him an increase in pay. So in item 3B, and I'm just saying this for the public to understand, because I do have his contract in front of me and you guys do not. The experience pay increase of 1% if our teachers get a step. Does that mean he does not get that?
My understanding is he gets the 1% for the
Okay,
step.
okay.
And if we give him 2 steps, that's negotiated somehow. You get proportionally.
No, I think it's just the 1%. It only talks about 1%. Yeah, it just says 1%.
Okay.
And then in D, the effectiveness stipend is based off of his evaluation. Does he still get that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that we are not increasing his base salary, but he is getting his stipends.
He is getting pay raises.
Okay. And I'm not saying that they're not deserved. That was very unclear earlier. And again, I wasn't there, so I'm getting my questions answered. So if extending his contract allows him to focus more, gives him that peace of mind, attaches us more to him as a board, right? Because now we are for sure a team together for the entire extent of our term as board members, then maybe extending his contract is not a bad idea, okay? Because it is in the contract, so the public knows, with good
with reason and with cause, we can fire him at any point in time. I'm not saying that's what I want to do. I'm saying that that is what's stated in the contract, okay? So it doesn't matter if his end date of his contract is a week from now, or if it's 2024 or 2027. If he's not doing his job, I'm going to assume that my fellow board members and I are going to do our jobs and make sure that we hold him accountable for that, okay? So I don't think extending his contract is a bad idea. As far as the other part, the other amendment, that part, the vacation part. So it does currently say in the contract that we do understand that he has a very demanding job, and he does. Guys, he is running around this parish all the time. I don't even know how someone can answer my text message or emails as quickly as he does, but he does, and not just mine, everybody's up here. But that we impose demands upon our superintendent that are unique and they are very great, and I understand that. But it also says in this contract that the board expects him, for his personal benefit and for the benefit of his family and for us, for our teachers in our district, and for his mental health, that he takes the fullest amount of annual leave possible. And there are a lot of people that rely on him, okay? And I do think that we should push him a little bit to take his vacation days. And if that means that, you know, we don't pay him for his vacation days, because that might be a little encouragement to not take them. I do not support paying him for his vacation days that he doesn't use, because I want him to use them, okay? So I am going to make a motion to amend this, to take that part out, that we pay him for his vacation days, because I think it is important that he takes those vacation days, and leave the rest as is.
Do we have a second? Ms. Moore seconds it. Okay. We now have an amended motion to accept the contract minus the clause that provides for payment of vacation days. It would revert back to allowing him to carry over maximum 5 days, I believe. So yes, we would remove that, so it would revert back to the wording that is in the contract right now. So strike the third paragraph. The amendment to the motion is to strike the third paragraph. Do I have any comments from the public on the amendment? All right. Comments from the board on the amendment? Just a second. That's correct. This is just an amendment. Mr. Jabia would like to speak.
I just want to speak on that 1 second, if you don't mind. The only reason it's put in there is because I can go on vacation all I want, those 20 days, but I'm never off. Because when I'm out, my staff is still working, and nothing can go on without me okaying it or giving the approval. So I'm never on vacation. I can never be away from my phone. I can never be in a situation where my phone turns off. That sounds like a great idea. That sounds like it is there. That's fine. I can tell you right now, I will not use more than the vacation that I'm using right now, which is 1 week for the entire year that I work. And I work outside the calendar, so when you're off for Easter and Mardi Gras and all the other holidays, I'm in the office, and that's fine. And I have no problem with that. My point is, those vacation days are granted to every 12-month employee. So all I've asked for is to be compensated for the days that I don't use. That's all I'm asking for, is to be compensated for the days I don't use. I'm working those days. You're paying me to be off. You're not paying me to be off, but I'm working those days. So it's not sick days. It's none of that. It's my vacation days that are mine, that are just like every 12-month employee out there has their 20 days of vacation days. I get the same amount as they do. So all I'm saying is, All I'm asking for is to be paid because I'm working. If I'm not using those days, I'm at work. And I'm at work way more than any superintendent I know of. So, thank you. That's exactly, you're not paying me for days I'm working, correct? That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for something extra. There's nothing extra. It's just paid for days that I'm in the office that I'm not currently paid for. Thank you.
All right, we are now working on the amendment, and do we have raise a hand on people who want to talk about the amendment? Whenever. So we have two people. I don't want to erase the list on the previous one in case this amendment fails. So, Mr. Fino Gallagher.
So what is to say that eventually they'll say they don't want to take them and they want to get paid, because technically that's a raise.
Is there any 12-month employees
But-
out there?
That's what I'm saying. So, Ms. McCurley, you're always in front of me, so that's why I use you as an example. If she doesn't take her vacation days and she wants to bank them, are we gonna pay her for the 15 that she doesn't take? That's all I'm asking.
As a superintendent, I can. As a superintendent, I can in extraordinary circumstances.
But in extraordinary circumstances, right?
Right.
I guess I know your job is more difficult than theirs, no disrespect. But in the same token, I think if we're given to one, we gotta give to the others without it being an extenuating circumstance. I'm not saying for asking you to take off a week and go to Jamaica every 6 months, but like a day here and a day there, the golf course, you just need a mental break.
That's
Right.
fine.
Mr. Harrell's next. But that's what I'm saying. If we're not going to give to the other 12-month employees that we have, unless it's at your discretion, I just have a hard time paying you and not paying them. Because it's not in our budget, I'm assuming. I don't know how much you get paid an hour. But for 10 days or 15 days or whatever it is, that's money that we have to find because that wasn't in our budget, because usually we would pay you to take that. Ms. Prevost is itching to talk, I know.
Mr. Harrell's next, and I'll let you talk, Ms. Prevost, in just a minute. Mr. Harrell, on the amendment.
Thank you, President Bro. I just want to address, when we negotiated that contract, we put it in because we wanted him to take time off and not burn out. I think over the 3 years, he's kind of shown us he's not burning out. I don't think it's in his nature to slow down. I've been in, it seems like daily conversation or phone calls or texts or something with him for 3 years. He will not take off. I don't think it's fair to penalize him for this. Even if he took the days off, he's still working. You try to talk him into taking a cruise, he won't do it because of the phone situation. So I just don't see any benefit. That's it.
Ms. Prevost, you want to address the budget?
Yes, the previous 3 superintendents all were paid for their vacation because I can promise you, he is unable to take his vacation. The superintendent's a little different because I email him, I don't even know how many, I have to have approval from the superintendent. He can't delegate to anybody else. All of this team, we have people underneath us that can fill in for us where we can take off. But I will tell you, it's very difficult for me and all these people to take vacation because we're constantly on our email. And every one of them could speak to that. But we do have people we can delegate and we can do that. He does not. And the 3 previous superintendents and a lot of superintendents of states get paid their vacation. I've tracked the data. We have to include a schedule with our financial statements of everything he gets, and I've looked at other superintendents, and it's a very common practice. And so it was built in the budget for many years because we were paying all the superintendents up until recently. He's the only one that we haven't done. So it's basically built in there. It's just carrying over because it's not being used. So it's built into the salary lines in the total expenditures, but.
Then can I ask Brandon, Mr. Harrell, why did we add this to his if the past 3 previous superintendents were getting that? I'm just curious because you were the one who did the contract. That's all I'm asking. I don't mean to point fingers.
We wanted him to take the vacation time.
But if the previous 3 hadn't,
I can answer that question.
I mean, I'm just curious.
We
Or Mr.
really-
Jabi, either one.
Yeah, we didn't want him to burn out. We wanted him to take it, and he don't listen. So
Mr.
let's
Jabi,
not
you
penalize them for not listening.
There are multiple things that, I took the job because I was, and I agreed to the contract after we sat down and we discussed, like Mr. Harrell said, for about 6 weeks. It was done because this board wanted to separate themselves from the previous contracts. There was annuities in the contract that were paid by this board. There was life insurance paid by this board. There were many other perks that were paid by this board. All those things I removed from the contract because I wanted to prove to this board that I could do the job. So that's why I did it.
All right, are there any other comments on the amendment? Seeing none, let's please vote.
Just to remove the vacation.
This is the amendment to remove payment for vacation days not worked or worked.
Ms. Hurstis?
The motion to amend fails, 11 nays, 3 yeas. We will now go back to the original motion, and we will continue our list of people to talk. Who is next? Ms. Rutherford? Ms. Rutherford?
Okay, I just want to say, he has been very approachable. I think he's done a great job in the months that I've been here. I cannot say anything negative about how he does his job. Trust me, there's nothing I can say. He has done everything that that we have asked of him and more. And I know he honestly and sincerely wants St. Tammany Parish to succeed and be the best. I have no doubt in my mind that is his goal. I just personally kind of feel like Michelle as being, wanting to wait and let this contract play out. Not that I think we shouldn't renew his contract. I think we should renew his contract as of right now, absolutely. And I probably would think that, I know I will probably think that next year too. But I just think that if the contract stays the same, okay, his pay is not, his pay does not change right now, but he can ask for a pay raise at any time. So we're not locking in his contract for pay for 4 years. And that's what I think you were saying, but, okay. So, it's a matter of whether or not and I feel confident, I do feel confident that he is going to do a fantastic job for over the next 4 years, 5 years, and into the next whatever. But I just feel like me voting for this is kind of difficult for me because of the fact that I don't know why we would vote right now for this instead of waiting till the contract is over and then voting. That's it. I mean, but I think he has done a good job, and I wouldn't see why we wouldn't renew his contract when it's up. I mean, there's no reason to not.
Dr. Peterson?
I'd just like to call the question.
Hmm?
Well, I didn't see the other name up here. I thought my name was the last one up there.
No, it is, but she is on there for a second round. I would ask you to let her talk.
I didn't realize. Apologize.
Ms. Hurstis?
Okay, we aren't saying that we are saying no. We're just saying not now. Again, 5 months, I know I'm repeating, but I've only been here 5 months. This is still the honeymoon phase, okay? Y'all keep saying focus on his job. He needs to focus on his job. Why isn't he focusing on his job now? Does it mean just because his contract's just till November 2024. He can't focus on his job. He has to only focus on his job if he has a contract to June 2027. No, that's not it at all. Everyone sounds really good, you know, and I get it, and not to be, you know, sounding whatever, but I'd like to have that warm, fuzzy feeling too, making, you know, to extend the contract. And I don't have that warm, fuzzy feeling right now. I've only known him for 4 or 5 months. I'd like to have that feeling. So if we're gonna extend this contract, I think then it's time to negotiate it. Because there's things in this contract that I think we need to go over. Because if we're actually going to extend the contract, then we need to look and renegotiate it. Because C, in this contract, I think we need to look at. I mean, do we want to start that now? If we're going to negotiate it, that we needed to, that we need to look at the contract and look over everything? If we're going to extend the contract, then we need to actually look over the contract to actually extend it.
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, this is a real
Then
question.
that is not on the agenda.
Then why are we extending a contract that we haven't really looked at and analyzed it? Y'all did. And so all of y'all had this big negotiation over this contract already.
We have reviewed the contract. I have read it word for word.
Oh, so the offices did that.
No, it's public, it's a public contract. Everyone could.
But the people who negotiated initially.
And it was also on the evaluation that was sent out a month ago or 2 months ago.
Oh, you mean that evaluation that was a complete joke?
The contract was included in the handouts.
Okay, so this contract, we had no idea when I was doing that evaluation of those questions that were extremely repetitive. One question was actually, we needed to mark him either outstanding or whatever, that he filled out the evaluation. That's a yes or no question. That evaluation is ridiculous. It was very repetitive. And I had no idea filling out that evaluation, we were gonna extend his contract. I had no idea.
We're not, we're just voting on it.
But if we're gonna extend the contract until June of 27, then that means we're gonna use this contract. We're extending this contract. So that means he has to abide by this contract. What if I don't agree with this contract?
They vote, one vote, you got one vote.
So all of you board members that are gonna extend this contract means that you agree with this contract right here, 100%, and whatever these little amendments are. So y'all read this, and y'all are gonna agree to this. Really? Wow. So you agree to let us see that regardless of whatever Bessie says, that it doesn't affect his job position at all. So if Bessie makes a mandate and it screws up our schools, you're okay. And it doesn't affect his job whatsoever.
Are you finished?
No, I'm not.
Well, keep going.
Yeah, because you board members right now, look, y'all are looking at me with their frustrated face. And you know what? This ticks me off. Because if it doesn't affect his job, then that means he's not going to fight like our board members should be fighting Bessie with their stupid mandates. Bessie has these mandates and they come down and they screw up our schools, and sometimes they screw up our curriculum and they screw up our students and everything else. So do you think that if something doesn't affect their jobs like it affects our teachers and it affects our students and it affects everything else, do you really think he's going to fight like they want to fight and like us? And that's what it says in C, in this contract. Go ahead and smile, Hanson. I can see you smiling over there.
Please, no personal attacks.
I think he has every.
Right,
I'm
everybody quiet.
sorry. Excuse me. I apologize. But she's come over there grinning at me. I just, I'm sorry. I was very unprofessional. Excuse me. I apologize. But I'm getting really upset because I cannot believe that we're just going to agree to an extension when we really have not talked about a contract. Till 2027. I'm floored. I cannot believe this. I can't. And for what? Somebody's peace of mind? And all of y'all keep saying a peace of mind when he can get fired at any moment? How is that a peace of mind when y'all keep saying he can get fired at any moment? That's not a peace of mind. We are on topic. This is an extension of a contract. And this has nothing to do with, Frank, this is not personal at all. I'm talking about something, this is over a year in advance from when his contract is over in 2024. I think we should have time to talk about this, that's all. I guess I'm done.
Mr. Kuzan,
I'd like to call for the question, please.
second? We have a second? I heard someone. Ms. Hanson? All in favor of ending debate? All opposed? All right, question's been called and passed, and that's at least 2/3. I think it was unanimous. Therefore, we will now vote on the motion to extend the contract for 2 years and 8 months, till June of 2027. The motion passes, 12 yeas, 2 nays, 1 abstention. And do we need a recess? No, it's past 6, the game's on. Okay, we now have the 3-minute public comments. Gene Wilson? All right, just if you want to waive, I'm okay with that. Trinity Noble.
Kids, teacher at Lee Road, union member, and union representative at my school. Thank you to the following board members for replying to my email that I sent. Adeline Rutherford, Kalinda Fauntleroy, Deborah McCollum, Gia Baker, Amanda Martin, and Brandon Harrell. I debated on whether or not to attend this meeting or even to speak, but here I am. I kept going back and forth asking myself if this will make a difference. Then I saw people who were working summer school and are unable to attend, so I decided to be a voice, but they could be here now. I'd like to know why this 3 p.m., no, that doesn't, you already answered that. Okay, so here we go. To go along with what Ms. Fauntleroy said earlier, motion to adding to the agenda, how are we funding new turf fields for football programs? How are we making way in the budget for new curriculums? In my 20 years of teaching, I've never seen so much curriculum juggling. It's quite crazy to expect so much from elementary teachers who are self-contained. How many supervisors or instructional titles are needed when we're given scripted curriculums and provided support from external companies to train us? The following companies or programs have trained STPSB teachers this year: Envision, Project Read, EDU 2020, Eureka Squared, Amplify Science, ESL Workshops, The Writing Revolution, iReady, Ready Class, Achieve 3000, Actively Learn, Leader in Me, and Science of Reading. My point is that money is coming from places for things that are seemingly unneeded. Let's fix up our schools before we put down artificial turf. Do we need so many coaches, or do we need teachers for the first day of school? We have 94 special ed positions and a total of 167 job openings. Support staff, custodians, clerical, bus, and other faculty are struggling more than teachers, and we could not effectively nor efficiently run our school day without those critical people. Having said all that, at this time, I feel like the state needs to step up and provide money more for its schools, but this parish needs to look into how it is funding things. I couldn't find data for anything except 2019, so that's what I'm citing. Residents of St. Tammany Parish need to make $3,215 every month to maintain a modest standard of living. A paycheck stub from me from 2019 showed my net pay to be $3,018. As a mentor teacher with a bachelor's, master's plus 30 ESL certification, special ed certification, and by next summer will have credentials to be an educational diagnostician, my husband with a general studies degree makes more than me. Something has happened in education since 2019, and I could blame it on COVID, Chromebooks, apathy, or whatever theory you follow, but we're losing qualified, experienced, certified teachers at an unprecedented rate. Paying us a modest standard of living shouldn't require begging, pleading, and writing letters to prove it. I hope you pressure the state when it comes time for pay raises because all employees need it. Thank you.
Mr. Osborne? Mr. Osborne?
Blanked out there. Good evening, board.
You're watching the game on your phone?
There was some interest online in my salary, which is paid completely with the funds that come from dues-paying members. So I make $81,265 a year. The union policy manual says I cannot have a car allowance. So maybe I need Mr. Howard to renegotiate my contract for me. If I were a 12-month coordinator with my master's degree and similar years of experience, I'd be making $83,206. So, you know, just to kind of show you, you know, I'm committed with every ounce of my being to make this a better district. You're not always going to agree with me. Sometimes I can be abrasive if I'm passionate and I feel like roadblocks are being thrown up. But I do believe Superintendent Jabbia as well has a vision. And I think with all of us working together, we're going to make this a better place. Democracy's messy sometimes, and unions are an American invention. They are a democratic invention. So it takes a lot of voices. I'm very pleased with the folks that came out tonight because a union is more than just staff. It's the people. You know, it's the teachers, it's the paraprofessionals, it's the secretaries, it's our bus owner operators. These are the folks who make this system great, who have direct access to the children, and who educate in a variety of ways, not just with, you know, well, we don't use chalk anymore, but dry erase and Chromebooks. Made me think of that section from the Leader in Me program, Synergy. So I always look at this relationship as a pyramid. The board, again, has the power of the purse, the power of policy. That's an enormous responsibility. Administration, federation, we're the primary negotiators, whether we're talking money or whether we're talking contract language that builds working conditions. So I hope as we move forward, we develop some of the protocols that Mr. Harrison has talked about. You know, we're still learning our way with this, but I think once we get some nuts and bolts things in place, we'll have a lot smoother experience. So I am looking forward to the 2024 contract negotiations. I do hope that with this budget in August, we could begin looking for the low-hanging fruit. I will certainly point to what I think is low-hanging fruit. You may disagree. But to me, if we don't invest in our workers and we continue to hemorrhage them, then we will continue to decline. And this district and its children deserve the very best. We can afford the very best if we prioritize what exactly we need. Thank you.
Ms. Shoemaker? Is that right? Shoemaker? Donna Shoemaker? Shoemaker. Okay. Jeff Richards.
First off, agree or disagree, you got to appreciate Ms. Hurstia's passion. Okay? She's here for real. I did just a small amount of research. This parish ranks 4th in the state as far as population, and that's where Mr. Jabbia's contract is, 4th amongst superintendents. His total compensation package is $328,086. a year. If we were paying considerably more than that to previous superintendents, I would submit to you that we were overpaying considerably. So we have to make what would have to be considered triage decisions because we're in a crisis. Our teachers have to be taken care of. We have to hire more teachers, and we have to hire the best teachers. So and look, I played 4 sports, okay? I understand the value of football. I understand the value of that participation. But when I hear that this parish, when we're in this crisis, and we really need to pay attention to the people that are educating our kids, and that includes football coaches. But when I hear that we're spending millions on field turf, when grass grows pretty cheap, and we're gonna spend $350,000 thereabouts on a new press box, you give me a week and a half, I get a crew together, I can do that for 35 grand, and I'll be making money. So I'm a little disappointed in that kind of stuff. When you talk about low-hanging fruit, let me tell you something, that's fruit hanging on the ground. We need to figure out a better way to spend our money than that. Okay, I like shiny new football fields and baseball fields too, but I don't drive a Maserati because I drive past the showroom, the Maserati showroom, and I'll get out and I'll look at the car and I look at the sticker and it's too damn much money. I can't afford it. And that's kind of how I feel about, you know, what we've been doing with press boxes and football fields and stuff like that when we've got the current dynamic in place with our teachers. We've got to do better. Thank you.
So you, Holman? H-E-I? Hyman? Lauren Hyman? Okay. Ms. Barbara Sharp? Oh, okay. Luletta Stewart? Ms. Barrios?
Lee Barrios. Regarding the extension of the superintendent's contract, which I realize at this point is a moot contract, but this board has only worked with this superintendent 6 months. That's been stated. It's still in the honeymoon period for this board. It's a 4-year performance, 4 years of performance contract. It's not a question of the superintendent's performance the first 3 years of his contract. That's been discussed in executive session when you all evaluated him, as you do annually. Your first evaluation only covered 6 months, and a couple of you already said you weren't able to really accomplish that. To align a superintendent's contract to the board elections, in this case 2027, is not a good idea. If that were the intention ever, then it would mean that the tenor of those four-year school board elections could be focused on electing a new school board, the majority of whose intent was to dump the superintendent. So it's not good to align school board election year with a contract for superintendent. The issue here is not retaining the superintendent or a question of his value, because it's because his legal contract isn't up. According to policy, a new contract for another 4 years or simply an extension of 1 or 2 years at that time is the process. It's not easy to fire a superintendent, by the way. It cannot be done at any moment or on a moment's notice or without serious cause. I've followed over the years 3 other district superintendents in that situation. They all went to court, and it ended up costing the districts a whole lot of money. The bottom line is that the previous school board entered into a legal contract with Superintendent Jabbia for 4 years.
4 years gives the superintendent time to settle in and to clarify the direction he wants to take the school system. If you can break a 4-year contract to give an early extension, then you can bring a contract item that says he will get no raise until 27 by simply amending the contract. So there can't be confidence that the school board won't vote a year or two later to amend his contract with a raise. And that's it. Thank you.
Porossi? Brittany Porossi? Would you? Oh, it's a B.
Sorry.
Would you pronounce it for us?
Bracy.
Okay.
I actually already addressed things that I wanted to say as far as salaries. So since I was still here and still on the list, I just actually wanted to come say some positive things because I don't like to be always the negative Nelly. And I just wanted to say, first of all, that Mr. Jabbia, the fire in the room around the contracts and the teachers and all of that is not necessarily directed at you from teachers. It is not this, oh, we want to get rid of anybody, or I think it was more of a wrong time, wrong place situation with the emotions, and y'all know how teachers can be with that. So, so I just wanted to speak for the teachers and say, I don't want there to be a feeling of animosity as far as any contract business. And then also another thing I wanted to say was that the conversation and the transparency in this room and that I have felt on our end and with the new board and new admin has been refreshing. I've worked here for 10 years and in another parish before that. So I've been through a couple superintendents as well and a couple of school boards and a couple of unions. And I think that we are moving in the right direction as far as all of those pieces are concerned. So I hope to see that continue.
Ms. Prevost.
Terry Prevost, Abita Springs. I just need 1 minute. I want to read a statement from my heart about Superintendent Frank Jabbia, if I can get through it. All right, I've been with the school district for almost 16 years, most of that time as CFO. I have worked with 3 previous superintendents and worked in the private sector for 23 years. I worked very closely with him. I can state unequivocally that Frank Jabbia is the best boss I have ever had in 39 years of working. He is caring, he listens, has an open door policy. I've never heard him raise his voice or embarrass an employee, including his team that is at this table. He is at work before daylight most days. If he's not at an event or school and works late every day, he attends school functions and events in the evenings and on weekends. He truly cares about employees and the students and has a deep love for this parish and this district. He sacrifices his personal life. I see it every day. And I know that he has sleepless nights and is dealing with calls and emails late into the night and on his days off. He became superintendent during an extremely challenging time with COVID and changing political environment. He handles it all with grace and a smile. He's a very special person. It is my honor and privilege to work for him. He does not deserve the negativity and hateful comments that I see online and have had people say to me about him. Being the person that he is, those comments must impact him greatly, but he hides that. I know his entire team feels as I do, and I speak for them, so thank you for listening.
All right, next on the agenda, we have an executive session requested pursuant to LRS 4217 to discuss the following matters: discussion of a resolution of matter involving public agencies' investigation of alleged misconduct, to conduct a strategy session, I'm going to go fast, with respect to collective bargaining with the St. Tammany Federation of Teachers and School Employees. And that's it. Motion to go into executive session. Ms. Hanson, seconded by Ms. Moore. No, actually, I saw Ms. Rutherford first.
I'm going to do the MOU. Y'all go in executive session.
you get with Brent?
Yes.
Tell him.
Yes.
We were all crying.
Yes, we're taking a short break.